Hello there and welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thank you very much for joining me this morning as we get straight into the conversations, focusing on what's taking place in regards to police efforts or police brutality, as it has been deemed. A march to protest the actions of the police in regards to human rights aspects has been postponed. It was expected to take place over the course of the weekend, but that was called off as permission to burn a police service flag in front of the police admin building was denied. Now, who was set to actually participate in this protest? Well, it was actually organized by the founder of the First Wave Movement of Trinidad and Tobago, Umar Abdullah, and he is my guest this morning. He's with us via Zoom. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, greetings.
Well, thank you very much for joining me, sir. Burning a replica of the police flag in front of the admin building. Exactly what were your intentions, or what are your intentions? Because I understand that you're still seeking permission to do exactly such.
Yes, we are. Our attorneys presently are filing an matter before the court presently to follow through with that request. So we see how that turns out in the next couple of days. However, over the years we have been approached by a number of persons in Port of Spain, in particular, in the Port of Spain area, complaining about actions of the police, police brutality, and more recently, police killings and so on. Presently, as we speak, today, I think today would be 487 days since Leonardo Williams, Fabian Richards, and Isaiah Roberts was killed by the police in Port of Spain. The PCA would have done an investigation, and they would have advised the Commissioner of Police to do an inquest into the deaths of these young men. And to date, nothing was done as yet by the Commissioner of Police. So in response to all of this, we decided to, to communicate with the TTPS, asking for information as regards to all police killings from 2006 to 2023. And it was indicated to us that there were 868 civilians. And this figure represents 648 fatal shootings and about 220 non-fatal shootings. All right, so, and coming out of this, we just had about 29 police officers charged to date. Now, I want to make it absolutely clear. First and foremost, we must remember that we're living in a democratic society where freedom of expression and is a fundamental right enshrined in our Constitution. Our request to burn the flag is not an act of disrespect or an attempt to incite violence, as the police would have put it. It's a symbolic form of speech, which is protected by the very principles of our democracy, democracy that, this country is built upon. And, I want to address the concerns raised by those persons who are supporting the Commissioner's, decision. It is crucial to recognize that throughout history, symbolic acts like burning flags and, they have is a very powerful tool for social change and justice. Mahatma Gandhi, for instance, Mahatma Gandhi's Salt March in India was a powerful symbol of resistance to the British colonial rule. He broke the law by what? Making salt from seawater. An act that was symbolic, but it had profound implications. Right.
Well, what are the implications? Like, I fail to see exactly how such actions would actually be a stance against extrajudicial killings by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. So precisely, even the examples that you're using, what are the implications in this particular case?
Well, as in all those cases, one particular case I mentioned, Mahatma Gandhi, is Martin Luther King as well. We have Nelson Mandela, where after he was released from prison, there was this symbolic dismantling of all apartheid symbols and monuments. right? In religious texts, we see symbolisms being used by our prophets and so on. So what I'm saying is that, flag burning in our context in Trinidad and Tobago is a symbolic speech. That's what I'm saying. That aims to draw attention to the pressing issue of extrajudicial killings, corruption, impunity, right? And the prevention of creation of a police state. And this is what it is we are very, very much concerned about. Our own Dr. Eric Williams would have said, once said, the future of our nation is closely linked to the integrity and effectiveness of our institutions, including the police, right? And we must hold these institutions in the highest regards.
Is there any way that you can convey the same message whilst carrying out your protest without actually having to desecrate a flag?
Well, haven't we been doing that in the past? How many protest actions we would have had in Trinidad and Tobago, and what were the results of those protest actions? All I'm saying is that, this may appear to be something, out of the box, sort of way, but it's worth a try. And already what we are seeing happening is that there are discussions like we're having now this morning, and there are conversations that's coming out of this intention or this request that we have made. And if perhaps we never get the permission to burn the flag, at least we would have started, or we would have been able to open those doors for those very important conversations that is going to allow our police service here in Trinidad and Tobago, to develop and improve their image as it relates to.
Is it going to help in that regard? Because I mean, in this position, I've covered many protests before without the burning of flags having to take place. But the point is, at least from what I'm witnessing and from what I'm seeing, is it really going to help the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in that respect, their image, their action? Or is it just going to create a further divide, further mistrust between the public and the TTPS, of which we're trying to work on, trying to heal?
I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, we're having this conversation here this morning, and in no way is this conversation going to end by persons or the TTPS not reflecting on what has been happening in Trinidad and Tobago, and how can we improve that. All right. We have here a gentleman who wants permission to burn the flag. I didn't just go in front of the police service and take up a flag and burn it without seeking the requisite permission from the TTPS and the fire service. All right. And I have a prepared speech that I'm going to give before I burn the flag. So it's all about sending a message and relating that message in a particular way that is going to encourage conversations like this. And is also, when we're having conversations like this, of course, what's going to come out of these conversations are suggestions and proposals that is going to improve our TTPS here in Trinidad and Tobago. And that, I think, is going to be a positive, moving in a positive direction.
But so Mr. Abdullah, up until this point, I still haven't had any idea from this conversation how this is going to improve the actions of the TTPS, and I'm hoping you can educate me.
By just the idea and the conversations that's going to come out of it. All right. I mean, you can't sit there and tell me that the TTPS has not been having conversations about this. Senior police officers have not been sitting down and discussing this issue amongst themselves. You think they're going to just say, this chap wants to burn the police flag and have a laugh about it? All right. Of course, they're going to say, well, there is a reason why he wants to do this. And this is, I've communicated this in so many ways to the police. We had meetings with them. All right, we had communication with them, sent them emails, literature, all of this. And we went, they asked us to come into a meeting. We went, we sat down, and we had the conversation. And, of course, like you're saying, we may not be able to see it just yet, but obviously there is going to be implications coming out of this just by the request in itself. And all I'm saying is that the very reason we are having this conversation is because I made the request. And what's going to come out of this conversation? We are having a discussion. One of the questions is going to account, well, how can we change the situation as it is with the TTPS presently so that people would not request or make requests to burn a replica of the police flag, was the case may be. And I want to reiterate here, it is not my intention to incite violence or to incite, anything of that sort. My intention merely is to get this on the table, right, as as urgent as we can, and let us sit down. I'm like I said, if I don't get the permission to do it, at least I would have been able to achieve, bringing them to a point where we can have a conversation.
Well, Mr. Abdullah, I don't think it needs to go to that extent, because like I said, I've covered many conversations in regards to protest before. I've had you on the program before as well, and there's always that opportunity and platform, and one could wholly understand the need to express your concerns, especially if you're representing an organization which, I say, seems to have quite a bit of support. But beyond that, so your attorney at law, Karen Ramkilawani, he's written to the Attorney General saying, freedom of assembly was a fundamental right. I think everyone could understand freedom of assembly being a fundamental right. I think nobody will argue against that. Hence the reasons why protests are many a times, majority of times, permitted according to the TTPS, even if it's against the TTPS. But this part of the letter, symbolic speech, which is protected as a constitutional right under Section 4 of the Constitution. Now, I'm no attorney law. I can't say, I can only interpret it, but I can't necessarily argue it because I don't have all the cases at the back of my head. But I will say, though it is not your intention, and though you don't have the intent to incite any violence, the possibility of this leading to public disorder, given how people in Trinidad and Tobago are, we're having an honest conversation about the TTPS, we can also have an honest conversation about in Trinidad and Tobago, people look for reasons many a times to protest. People seem to get joy out of protesting. I'm not saying it taking away from any of the messages, but you sometimes wonder the levels it gets to. You burning a flag, it's not your intention, but it could lead to public disorder, and it could lead to further things happening in regards to public actions. So one could understand why the TTPS denied you from burning a replica of the flag.
I'm not arguing their position at this point in time. All right, my attorney is looking into the matter as we speak, like I said. But let's take a look at it from this particular perspective. We have had numerous police-involved shootings and killings here in Trinidad and Tobago. All right, and quite recently I mentioned the death of Leonardo Williams, Fabian Richard, and Isaiah, that incident. And there was a huge public outcry as a result of that killing. All right. We saw what happened as a result of that, the protest action, the blocking of the roads, etc., along the Beatum Highway, and so on and so forth. Now, that action of the police, those actions of the TTPS, that is what, right, incites violence and chaos in our society, right? And I'm telling you, right, and I'm pretty much sure of it, that I burning the flag, it's not going to create that sort of chaos. It's not going to create that sort of violence in our society. As a matter of fact, it's going to tamper, all right, any instance or any intention of persons to indulge themselves in such actions. Because here we have a process by which we have approached in a particular manner, in a particular way, and we are attempting to address this issue with TTPS. And that's all I'm saying, all right? Because many times in the past, you would have seen numerous violent outreach by the public because of the actions of the TTPS. They're the ones who have created violence. They're the ones who have incited violence amongst the people in Trinidad and Tobago by their actions. So why are you questioning me? Why are you telling me that because of my action, I am going to incite violence and I'm going to create chaos when you are the one, right? My response to your actions that creates violence and incite unrest in Trinidad and Tobago, I am simply choosing a course where I'm seeking permission. I am not going and doing anything out of that permit, right, against the law. So if I'm giving the permission to burn the police flag, we went and we had meetings with the fire service, we sat and we spoke about this, and we are seeking permission from them as well, all right? And all I'm saying is that this is just a position of the first wave movement that we have taken, and we have decided, look, you know, we want to respond in a positive way. And this is not a broad brush, and we're not attacking the institution. We're simply saying it's time enough that we stop what is happening with regards to the TTPS, their actions in Trinidad and Tobago, the way they conduct their investigation, the way they interact with persons here in Trinidad and Tobago. We get reports every single day about police and police brutality, and you know how police interact with the public, and I know that they have been trying to change that image for quite some time, all right. And we want to help in that regard. We want to help them. We want to sit with them. We want to encourage them, all right. And
then Mr. Abdullah, you should do exactly that, because you can take a stance. Well, one is empathetic to the fact that you sought permission, huh? And let me say, that is commendable that you actually sought permission. So one certainly, you can't ignore that, all right? And that's very fair on your part. But do exactly that. Continue the conversations with the TTPS. Protest against the criminal elements and the impact they're having on society here in Trinidad and Tobago. Continue the support to the TTPS. And I understand, help them, work with them, put out your suggestions and whatnot, because even the statistics you provided, 868 civilians shot since 2006 to 2023. No, brilliant that you provided such statistics, but in context, the first thing that came to my mind was how many of these were actually standoff between criminal elements and the Trans-Tobago Police Service. You know, context is always important. So like I said, empathetic, yes, but a different approach. Trust me, if you had this protest, you would have still been covered, burning of a flag or not.
Right, I understand what you're saying, and this is exactly what is happening presently because of my request to do that. You see, sometimes protest action comes off in Trinidad and Tobago and nothing happens. There's no discussion, there's no, wide conversations happening as a result of those actions, and et cetera, et cetera. No invitation by the TTPS to have conversations, nothing like that. But something like this, I am hopeful that it's going to encourage that type of interaction, that type of welcoming. And by the very fact that I did make an application, and like I said, we are having this conversation this morning. This is exactly what it is we want. It's not so much so that I want to burn the flag, right? But it's to get the attention of the TTPS, to get the attention of the stakeholders. And look, here is something. This is a discussion. This is a conversation that we really, really have to sit down and have. And let's try and figure out as a country, as a nation, as a people, how we can help one another, how we can assist one another. And I do stand or sit in a position of influence. And like I said, once I am able to engage with the police and the TTPS in the manner in which that we want, obviously I'm going to translate that to the communities where we find mostly these types of violent reaction by citizens coming out and so on and so forth.
Well, Mr. Abdullah, I have to say, I want to thank you very much for coming on the program this morning and for having this conversation. And let's see, following the response to the letter issued by your attorney at law and to the TTPS, I will be very pleased to welcome you to the program again to expand on this conversation. So I want to thank you very much, sir, for your time.
I want to thank you for having me, and very good morning to all your viewers and your listeners, and I want to wish everybody, a safe and productive day.
To you too, sir. Thank you very much. All the best. Founder and leader of the First Wave Movement, Umar Abdullah, joining me this morning in regards to that protest of which was postponed. Let's see, again, as I mentioned, the response for his correspondence between the Office of the Attorney General and his Attorney at Law, as well as the Trans-Tobago Police Service. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on the program. When we return, I welcome my next guest this morning.
Simon's Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in new and used musical instruments, carrying top brands like Yamaha, Pearl River pianos, vinyl and Sabian cymbals, Remo and Evans drumheads and Fender guitars, just to name a few. Also a wide assortment of music books, pan and accessories. At Simon's, we service what we sell. Trust the leader. Call us now at 625-6412 or visit us at 20 Board Street, Port of Spain.
Let the Home Store turn your house into a home you love. Get everything you need to give your home that special look and feel. We offer household items, lawn and garden, paint center, hardware, plumbing, lighting and electrical, toys and storage solutions. 5 convenient locations: 6th Avenue Barataria, The Falls at Westmore, Pennywise Plaza Shoguanas, C3 Center Branch and C3 San Fernando. Check out our Facebook page for more information and come visit us today. The Home Store. Turn your house into a home you love.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for making the time to be with us this morning. In commemoration of Calypso History Month and UNESCO Media and Information Week, the National Library and Information Systems Authority, or NALIS, launched the Living Library Poets and Prophets Chronicles from the Living Books of Calypso on Saturday, 20th of October. That's Saturday that just passes by, at 3 public libraries: Port of Spain Adult Library, the Sangarangi Public Library, and the San Fernando West Indian Reference Library, as well as via the Zoom platform. Well, though that date may pass in terms of the launch, the initiative is very much commendable, and therefore we are pleased to welcome Ms. Primity Prasad. She's a director at Public Libraries Division of NALIS. Good morning, Ms. Prasad. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. It's a privilege to be here this morning.
Well, thank you very much for joining me. You sound a bit like me when I welcome my guest there. Mr. Azad Mohammed, Librarian 3 at South Region Public Libraries Division at NALIS. Hello, sir. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, and good morning to everybody, all the viewers, and good morning to you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you both for making the time to join me this morning. Ms. Prasan, let me start with you. Very interesting. Chronicles from the Living Books of Calypso. Speak to me a bit more on this initiative and the thought process behind putting it together and the hopes of what is to be achieved from it.
Okay, so I want to start off with a quote this morning about libraries. It's from Sidney Sheldon, a renowned author. And he said that libraries store the energy that fuels the imagination. They open up windows to the world and inspire us to explore and achieve, and contribute to improving our quality of life. Libraries change lives for the better. I want to continue to say that a public library is a trusted and a valued community asset. It acts as a catalyst for change, and it facilitates social, economic, and cultural development for its patrons. A library is a passport of information, and we know that information is power. It's an enhancement to a community. It's a major contributor to the growth, development, and stability of a community. Libraries are all about leveling the playing field. It's all about providing equal access to all, bridging the digital divide, bridging the gap between the information poor and the information rich, and it impacts literacy levels. Now with that, I'll talk about the Living Library that was inaugurated on Saturday. NALIS is really the heart of our learning, our community, and our lives. It is our mission at the Public Libraries Division to avail ourselves of the opportunities to interact with storytellers, subject matter experts, and artists of our nation, ensuring that citizens have a platform to learn of our nation's legacy. NALIS is reinventing its service delivery model to include not only lending just books, but also the expertise of people, bringing them face to face with each other. Living Library is a dynamic source of information. Our aim is to inform, educate, and promote tolerance and inclusivity. So NALIS connects its people to a plethora of information through our collection, which can be accessed at a library nearest to you or via our website. These resources include subscription databases such as the EBSCO hosts, a wide variety, a wide genre of audio and books from Overdrive, and our favorite magazines on Flipstar, as well as internally created resources in the form of subject guides, blogs, and digital libraries. Over the years, we have brought panel discussion, meet and greet with content creators, icons, artists, writers, comedians, spoken word session, workshops, lectures, and training, just to name a few. So I don't know if I've answered the question there. So we're just not lending books, we are lending expertise in different fields.
You've certainly answered the question, and a well answer, may I say, Mr. Mohammed. In regards to living encyclopedias, and I actually could enjoyed it when I read that to him. I'm like, it's the first time I'm seeing something like this, and I was like, it really had my mind intrigued. But people make connections with books. They're people who can find themselves lost in the world of books for hours, for days. It's just something many enjoy. But connecting with living encyclopedias is a completely different realm. Mr. Mohammed, could you please speak to me about that particular connection and in regards to knowledge, in regards to learning, and that level of experience being imparted onto all those who will benefit from such a program?
Well, the thought behind this particular program was to get people connected to the actual source of the knowledge we were trying to promote. In this particular program, which we had on Saturday going, we were connecting with Calypsonians as part of our observance of Calypso History Month. So we would have connected with a number of Calypsonians, and we had them on site there giving their presentations, listening to some of their music, and giving the audience an opportunity to interact through question and answer segments and be able to pull the knowledge from these people in person. That's what the Living Library is about. This is what the Living Encyclopedias is about. It's about extracting knowledge, getting knowledge from them about their experiences, what they would have experienced, their journey from when they started to where they are now as living legends in the Calypso arena. That was the thought process behind it.
Yes. The elder generations are passing on their wisdom and experiences to the younger ones. Indeed, Miss Prasad, how does, because you focused on Calypso History Month, this is just part one, so
Yes.
that tells me there is more to come indeed.
Of course.
How does connecting to these cultural icons, as was recognized by Saturday's events, actually in itself going to help create culture?
Well, through the passing of knowledge and their expertise, it will encourage people, if they want to get into this part of Calypsonian, to be, they will acquire the necessary information to propel them or to encourage them or inspire them.
And of course, the appreciation for values, for customs, for beliefs, all of that comes out from such an initiative.
Definitely.
Mr.
The oral
Yes?
traditions. The oral traditions is what is important, and a lot of times we acknowledge the importance of our icons in society, not only Calypsonians, but throughout all stratas of society. We acknowledge their importance, but a lot of times we delay and we don't record these oral traditions and the knowledge and the experience they have to pass on. And sometimes, unfortunately, it is too late and we miss out on documenting and having these facts and this part of knowledge documented for future generations. And when we lose knowledge like this, it's lost forever. So the living library, the living books and the living encyclopedias is an attempt, that program is an attempt to capture this and preserve it for posterity, for future generations.
That, very much true, very much well said. And also, I mean, beyond just that, if we even look at it from a simplified point of view, and back to you, Ms. Prasad, this is also going to further help build the reputation of NALIS. The services that NALIS is now offering is going to, obviously, with these activities and these conversations, going to attract more people to actually come to the library, understand the services that are being offered, and there is a lot to be gained.
Yes, so libraries are evolving. They are no longer building with books. They are evolving to meet the ever-changing information needs of people through creating having new and innovative library and information products and services.
And as I mentioned at the start of the program, Ms. Prasad, this is just part one. And what more is to come? What more could we expect?
It will definitely continue, because this is first-hand information that the clientele is getting. So in my mind, I am looking at for part two for entrepreneurs, because there are a lot of people out there who wants to start up a business, or the business is not going too well, and they would really want that first-hand information, insights of how to develop a business, how to bring back to life their business, to make sure that they are making a profit and it's expanding and so on. So I am thinking in my mind, part two will be about entrepreneurs and
connecting to all sectors. And Mr. Mohammed, what is it that, I mean, what would you like to see? Because we're seeing NALIS's effort. What would you like to see in terms of public participation and public involvement?
Well, NALIS, in its day-to-day activity, always takes into account feedback from members of the public. A lot of what we do, we create because of there's a need in the community. And I would like to see that members of the public continue to give us feedback, both on our online platforms as well as in person. You know, we take into account a lot what that is said to us when patrons come into the library and we do a research interview with them at the circulation desk. A lot of it, sometimes some people think that it's just an interview and we're just asking questions. But staff has been trained to note the feedback, and that feedback is put together and it guides future programs. So as regards to the public, we would like to see feedback, get feedback from them. Let us know what is the information need of the community. And I am sure NALIS will be able to fill that vacuum once as we know what it is.
Of course, and just before we bid farewell, and thank you both for your time this morning and for enlightening us on what is taking place. Should the public want more information, and I encourage all of them to seek such information, Ms. Prasad, where can they do so?
At any of the public libraries. We have 28 public libraries throughout the country, so they can send their feedback there. Azad, Mr. Mohammed, you want to say where else they can send their feedback? Via email, NALIS?
Via email as well, that's right. The NALIS website is a wealth of information as well. We always have current information on the NALIS website. It's updated on a daily basis, as well as all our Facebook pages. So you live in a community, you want to know what's going on, look at your library in your community, look at their Facebook page. We are updating those pages sometimes 2 times, 3 times, 4 times a day as the need may be. As well as the normal telephone calls, all of our numbers are listed on the website as well. And you can go on our website if you are requiring information or you are doing research. There's Ask a Librarian on the website as well. It's a portal that's available on the website. Just type your question, whether it's a information need or you are looking for directions or guidance on programming. You can ask a question there and we will answer within 2 working days.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning. It's been a pleasure, and I could say that when was the last time any of you all viewing this program this morning visited the NALIS website? Well, if it's been a while, I encourage you to do so, because it's well put together. All the information is there, and you actually learn a lot more about the programs and services NALIS offers as well. And let's be honest with each other, folks. You probably weren't aware of that. So I'm glad that we could have had this conversation this morning. Ms. Priime Prasad, Director at the Public Libraries Division of NALIS, and Mr. Azad Mohammed, Librarian 3 at the South Region Public Libraries Division of NALIS. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to you both and to the entire team at NALIS working on this project. Well done.
Thank you very much, Keaton.
Have a great day, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
You too as well, and have a great day to all the viewers who are viewing as well.
Yeah.
Certainly, thank you guys very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on the program, and when we return, well, we continue with education as well, because it's Wild Wednesday. We'll be right back.
Here is the WESN News on the Hour. I am Sira Ali. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Venezuelan asylum seekers' deportation attempt thwarted by TNT High Court. Anti-political leader criticizes Customs Act on camouflage items. Ministry of Health reaffirms dedication to safe medication access. And internationally, South Africa's rugby union team are the world's rugby champs. Now for the details. In a setback, former Venezuelan mayor attempting to evade deportation from Trinidad and Tobago, High Court Judge Frank C. Passard delivered a decisive blow to his last-minute legal efforts to secure asylum in Trinidad and Tobago. Following extensive legal arguments, Judge C. Passard issued an oral judgment rejecting the injunction application presented by lawyers representing Delvis Jose Reyes Garcia. The judge stated that Garcia's legal challenge lacked merit. Delvis Jose Reyes Garcia, aged 36, had been detained in Cocorite on September 22nd after reportedly entering Trinidad and Tobago unlawfully while fleeing threats in Venezuela due to his involvement with the opposition party. He had applied for asylum through the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and that application is still pending. NTA political leader Gary Griffith has strongly criticized the Customs Act, which bans citizens from using any clothing or items with camouflage patterns. Describing it as dumb and ridiculous, Griffith's comments followed the recent arrest of a 32-year-old woman from Moruga who was detained over the weekend for wearing camouflage pants. Allegedly, the woman not only wore the prohibited clothing, but also resisted arrest, used offensive language, displayed disorderly behavior, and assaulted a police officer. Griffith contends that the law lacks practicality and serves no meaningful purpose. Amid growing concerns within the public discourse regarding the drug registration process, the Ministry of Health has reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to ensuring that the public can legally access safe medications. These concerns, initially raised by professional pharmacists, have prompted the ministry to address the issue. In an official statement, the ministry emphasized that it remains the competent authority responsible for regulating the safety, quality, and effectiveness of all medications available for public consumption. Internationally, South Africa's rugby union team are back home from France after winning the World Cup for a record 4th time. The players were met at Tambo Airport in Johannesburg by a huge, rapturous crowd on Tuesday. South Africa is the most successful team at the World Cup after winning 4 titles in 8 appearances. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I am Sira Ali. Thanks for watching.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the home store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue St. Anne's, WESN 30A Gattaca Street Woodbrook, Metropolitan Bookshop Ariapita Avenue Woodbrook and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People. FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Well, the laptop is gone. Yeah, I'm not going to use a laptop, especially for this part of the show, because it's Wild Wednesday. And we've got some friends in studio with us. First, let me welcome the most honorable, yes, the most honorable Carl Mead. He's wondering what I'm talking about. Don't look around, it's you. Good morning, Mr. Mead.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning to our viewers, followers, supporters out there. Thanks again for having us here. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
It's Wild Wednesday.
Wild Wednesday. And let me welcome, if he's most honorable, His Excellency, Mr. Jeremy Machen.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's a beautiful morning today.
And of course, the gentleman in the middle, who's wondering what is going on and what's happening. Who do we have here today with us?
This is Kes, the Savannah Hawk.
Kes?
Right, you get the link.
Kes the Savannah Hawk. Savannah Hawk, I must admit, actually, I'd never heard of a Savannah Hawk before.
Well, guess where he hangs out?
I'm assuming somewhere near the Savannah.
Not necessarily the Queen's Park Savannah, but he does get down in the Savannah grass. And he does his thing, because that's where he flushes his food out.
Yeah, yeah.
So he would stand up on a lamppost, a light post or something like that, and just survey, sometimes for hours. He looks very calm, relaxed here, because that's his nature, actually. He would just stand there and look.
This is just how they are naturally. Just because he's staring at he has just barely blinked, actually, since we've come on. And then he started to blink.
Yeah, I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm real. Yeah, it's like, I get this all the time. They wonder if he's real. Yeah, but that's actually what he does. A lot of raptors do that. They don't want to waste their energy flying around. So he would stand there and wait and look down there on the grass or any area where he thinks there's a potential meal. And if he sees the movement, he would go down, and he has long legs.
He does have quite long legs.
Yeah.
Is that an indication of the prey that he usually feeds on, or is that because of the grass potentially?
The grassy area and so on. He's quite comfortable on the ground, moving around and just sort of reaching into the grass or areas and grabbing his next meal. So he's pretty comfortable that way.
So primarily, what is their diet? Because I'm thinking savannah, I'm thinking obviously rodents, for example.
Yeah. What else we get for this guy to eat?
We'll get rodents. He will eat birds, a lot of birds.
Really?
They will take lizards. They will take snakes. Yeah, I have a wide variety.
Amphibians, yeah, love their frogs.
Frogs.
To see him deal with a crapo is just amazing. Because the crapo, Marinus bufus, a big toad with the toxin glands,
Yes.
flips him over on his back and deals with him belly first. And if by chance he gets flipped back over, you would swear that frog is still there alive until you flip it over and you realize his whole gut's gone and he's a nice full crop.
So evolution obviously has taught them that as well.
Yeah, he knows not to get killed. You leave the glands intact for some other foolish animal to deal with, namely like dogs. You know, some of our dogs can be quite silly going after crapo. You know, one lady's like, every 3 months this dog must attack a crapo. And of course the consequences, her anxiety attacks, the dog almost dying and so on there. But it's the bufotoxins turned out to be quite hypnotic is the word for it. Hypnotic. That's why people in foreign countries, of course, would go after them. I remember selling quite a few of those toads in the pet shops when I lived away and worked away. And I was like, wow, you guys are doing science? And the guy laughed at me. And they looked at each other and they laughed again. And I was like, okay, what do you do with the frogs? He's like, he took it and he squeezed it and showed me. I said, yeah, that's the milk. He says, yeah, that's the milk.
And people actually...
They would do frogging. They would lick the frog and they would get a ridiculous high. But many of them, every frog is different. So everybody's body chemistry is different. So the level of toxins will vary from frog to frog. How long do you lick it for? How much do you lick? And they can end up dead or in the hospital. So it was recommended, stop licking frogs and amphibians.
I've never had mountain chicken. I don't think I'm going to lick a frog. Jeremy, you have quite an amazing job. And I mean, you volunteer at the center. I'm saying it's a job because of the responsibilities that go along with it, but really takes a lot of passion. Working with Kes, tell me what that's like.
Kes is one of our more relaxed birds. He's been with us for the past 3 years. We got Kes as a nestling. And with how he is now, we have an attempt to release him back into the wild. We have to basically parent the bird. We have to try to get him to learn to hunt on his own, to be a successful hunter out there in the wild. It's not easy for raptors. Apart from the hunters that I have to fight up with, it have the fact that they will have to get a territory for itself. You have to fight with other birds as well.
They are territorial.
Yeah. They would probably something like about a few kilometers squared each bird will have. Right, so he have to go and assume his territory as well in the wild. So
no, you've said you had him since he was a hatchling. 3 years now. Usually how long is their lifespan? Because I know captivity versus wild is different.
With any wild, I would say about 30 years, but in captivity it will be a little bit longer than that.
30 years, that's rather incredible.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Mead, one of the things is that, and is there any concerns that given the work that Jeremy and yourself and the others have done at the center and are doing, and given that you've had him since he was a hatchling for 3 years, is there any concern that he might be too comfortable with human beings? Releasing him back into the wild might be a bit dangerous.
There's always a concern, but we go through the protocol to get him to that point where he can hunt, fly, identify his own species, as well as identify the dangers, not go to a car, not go to a dog, and so on there. So he has a very good awareness of self and surroundings, and that's what they need. And we believe that he may actually outlive his wild companions that have had no interaction with people because of his additional training and preparation, as it were. So he would not go to a person that easily. It's not in his DNA, and the way he's been trained, it has been very food-centric. So it's based on food, not for any companion or anything like that. You know, I can touch him and so on like that there, and he shows me, like, hey, you kind of leave my foot alone. And if he gets really angry, he can probably even grab me at some point in time. So with many of them, they're not huggy, lovey-dovey, that sort of thing like that there. So he's not imprinted. Fortunately, he's not imprinted. So, but he's taking his training, and we're trying to train him to be a wild bird. And so far, the program has been coming along well, and he can do that fairly well, even though, again, he's very comfortable with people because that's just part of his nature. But when he flies off and he's in a tree, he's a little different from here in studio.
So, and is this him being, it's 3 years, so he's fully grown?
Yeah, we believe, yeah, he's just about absolutely now finished his molt, and he's displaying his total adult plumage now.
So when he's a chick, what is the color of his feathers versus now? As a chick?
As a chick, it will be a little less reds you will see on it, and a more white. White in his stomach, white and black, and less reds. So more brown, a brownish color. More like this, actually.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, much different. So we know now he has gotten to being a young man instead of a baby anymore. You know, and even the wings, they're just amazing. Can you show them the wings? Get them to show them there. Now, people don't understand. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, the wings on these birds are just, that's what an adult Savannah hawk looks like. And has an amazing wingspan. He's just an absolutely gorgeous bird all the way around.
And he's speaking to us as well this morning.
Right, yeah.
He's speaking.
Not quite like T'Challa, but he has his own vocal range.
He seems actually, you know, because that's what we were talking about before the program started. He seems so calm as compared to T'Challa. You know, he seems very, as you said, this is just how he is in the wild. He's absolutely still, he's focused, he's laser focused. But there's another thing of which I've realized, and I'm glad we could address that this morning. Everybody looks at these animals and say, oh, look, that's a chicken hawk.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on there?
Sam, sad to say, a lot of ignorance. Where did you get that from? Well, my dad told me that's a chicken hawk. So we have, I would say, close to 24 different birds in this country that they call chicken hawk. Which is a chicken hawk? Well, you can Google it. There are no chicken hawks nowhere in the world. So you just call it. In fact, one of the most common birds called a chicken hawk is actually a fish hawk. That's his name. That's an osprey. Only hunts fish. Called in Trinidad a chicken hawk. Because we can just use that brush. We like brushes, you know, just roll everything in a, painted with a brush. So that all those are chicken hawks. If you see grab a chicken, it's a chicken hawk. No. Even if you don't see it, an osprey will never go after a chicken. But yet it's called a big chicken hawk. You know the real big chicken hawk, the brown and white one? And I'm shaking my head. I said, it's not a chicken hawk. Yeah, it's a chicken hawk. And it takes a while to calm people down off of their high horse and stance that it's a chicken hawk, to explain to them that these are just birds of prey, and there are lots of different ones. Most of them are brownish colors or rufous colors when they're brown, and they would change as they get older. For example, T'Challa was that sort of brownish color.
Yes, yes.
And now he's black, so that's a common black hawk. And so many of them are like that. They have that brownish color when they're young, and they get older. And a lot of the younger ones are the ones that tend to go after the chickens because they're kind of silly, and they were just hungry and inexperienced, so they go after the chickens. So like all of them brown. So this one, and the brown one, and that one, all of them are chicken hawks. Ladies and gentlemen out there, chicken hawks do not exist. It's just another misnomer, wrong name. There are different types of hawks, and you can learn about them, and they're fascinating. We have the black hawk, the white hawk, the broad-winged hawk, the common black hawk, the greater black hawk, and it goes on and on and on. The Savannah hawk. Yes. Learn the names of what we have, and you would be much better for it.
This is what the program is about, education, of course, and information. And you got to turn around. The cameras are that way, man. But apart from that, are these birds, Kess and Savannah hawks, indigenous to Trinidad and Tobago?
Yep, we do have them here. Just about everything. The only thing that we have at the center that is not of Trinidad and Tobago would be the albino Burmese python.
All right, yes.
Everything else. When people say, wow, we have that. Yes, we do. We do. We have a lot of amazing, amazing creatures. Harriers, falcons, hawks, hawk eagles. You know, remember the hawk eagles? The wannabes. They're a little bigger than a normal hawk, but way smaller than an eagle. So they're called hawk eagles. It's a wannabe, right? So if you ask him, like an ornate hawk eagle, what do you want to be when you grow up? He'll say, I want to be an eagle. But you're just a hawk eagle. No, you're a hawk eagle. It's a beautiful bird. It's an amazing bird, you know. If we don't actually get our hands on one, we'll be able to show you a picture. It's just amazing what we have here in this country.
Jeremy, nocturnal or diurnal? These animals? Diurnal.
Fully diurnal.
Oh, okay. That's most incredible, because oftentimes I hear many birds of prey, you know, hunt at night. Maybe that's just a rumor as well, a myth that needs to be dispelled.
They are fully diurnal. He will hunt in bright light only, not even dim light.
Wow.
You wouldn't really see him flying around after 6 or so.
Okay. Does he have any predators? Because I'm sure there are birds of prey bigger than him.
Mainly humans. A lot of persons will see this bird and shoot it.
You know, funny enough, that seems to be a theme that we've really had over the last few weeks when we speak about any of the animals you bring here. Do they have prey? Yes, they have, predators. Yes, they have natural predators, but mostly humans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the ignorance as well, huh?
Yeah. What I would like to hope is next week we may get someone from the EMA to join us, because we have a special case that I would like to highlight. I have to do a lot of communication with them to make sure that it's possible. And again, it's a baby animal that was shot. And, you know, the claim was that it was by mistake, but the animal that you were going after was not allowed to be shot or hunted. So there's no mistake there. You deliberately did the wrong thing. The consequence, the baby got injured, almost killed. I'm hoping at least by next week it can make it. You know, it's bad. It's a bad case, but it's something that needs to be highlighted. So I'm hoping that that EMA can join me, because it's very important. Hunting season is open. People are running wild out there with their guns and their pellet guns and doing all sort of stuff. So we need to pull back a bit and let people understand that there are rules, there are regulations, and there are animals that are allowed to be hunted and animals you just can't even touch.
Wow. So, and I'm glad you raised that, because I've seen many photos of people it seems as though they're just taking advantage of this permit. I saw one with a gentleman of probably no less than 10 iguanas to the back of his truck, and he's just singing, smiling and very happy. And I'm like, you gonna eat all that by yourself? But
no, it's not about that. It's about it's the sustenance. You know, if you're hunting because you need that meat to consume, you know, I can understand that. There was a time when actually that's the way it was. You know, the poorer people ate wild meat because couldn't afford a chicken, kind of corned beef, or what have you. Now it is elitist. People want to say, hey, I eat this and I eat that and the other. And so the market is now available, and people kill and collect and over-harvest to supply that market. And that's where we're running into problems in this country. And even just remember, last week, I think, a guy got shot going to hunt for Manikou.
He got shot?
Yeah.
My God, how the guns have done.
But they were breaking the law, because you're not supposed to be hunting 7, 8 o'clock in the night.
And that's happening a lot. A lot of people are hunting 7, 8 o'clock in the night. My parents live in a valley, and they were explaining to me that, you know, I think it was last week, you know, 11 o'clock in the night, they had hunters with pellet guns.
Correct.
And lights in the bush. I'm like, what's going on there?
Yeah, even by the center, we have, I have close to violent encounters sometimes with some young men who insist on coming into the area in the night, you know, so 11, 12 o'clock in the night, the dogs go off and stuff there, and they're there with their headlights, illegal, hunting at night, illegal, you know, without permits, illegal. So many laws they're breaking, and they just, you know, very flippant about it.
Yeah.
And I get close to the edge with these guys there, because they're repeat offenders. I explain to them, and they're just like, they don't care.
Yeah.
So there needs to be consequences.
And then that puts you in a dangerous, and all you guys in a dangerous situation too. But back to Kes. Jeremy, you know, as preparation go back to the wild, so he is doing live feeding, of course. You are teaching him to hunt.
Yeah, I would trap, we will have trap birds and stuff for him to pursue. We need to have live game for him to go after and try and simulate like natural hunting instincts, so he'll kick in and stuff in a controlled environment. With regards to sending him back to the wild, this is a wild animal. It's no way near to be domesticated, and the natural instincts will kick in. Being 2 to 3 days out in the wild, he will not come back to a human. He will fly away from me, who has been around him for the past 3 years of his life.
That must be very bittersweet for you.
Yeah, it would be. I've had instances where he got away, like one time, and he spent on one night outside. And by that next morning, he was looking at me like, I don't want to come by you. Who is you?
What about mating, and even, you know, throughout the course of their lifetime, and even the number of chicks that do they meet with one for the rest of their lives, or?
Yes, they are monogamous. The only way they will change partners if one of their partner dies. You would see, if you know where to identify these birds in the wild, you would always see the same pair together at all times in particular areas. So to have one nest around by the airport, once you pass into the back of the airport, you could look for a pair of Savannah hawks being there. And it's always the same pair all the time. They will lay eggs like every other year. They will skip a year. Being a bigger bird, they have to spend...
need a break.
Yeah. They will spend more time with the chick and with training and so on. So every other year, they will, and usually it will be all the pairs in the country would have chicks at the same time, mainly because of the availability of food and so on.
Really?
Yeah, they would, all raptors actually would reproduce based on the climate and the availability of food at that point in time.
Oh.
Like take for example, the barn owls, they would not reproduce as much as in a year where there's more rainfall. They tend to have less chicks at that time. Because they can't really hunt much while rain falling a lot.
You know, I didn't even know that. So then, how is climate change even affecting here in Trinidad these animals and mating, the reproduction cycle?
It's a lot. Studies are going on, and every time a study is just about completed or a report comes in, it's never good. For example, climate change. We're getting warmer. There's no doubt about that. I don't think anybody can deny that right now. And for reptiles, it affects their sex. All right, the warmer it gets, the more boys you get.
Yeah.
All right, so just imagine the turtles laying now, and you're getting a lot of boys. Whoopee! How's that going to augur for the future? You're going to have a serious problem there.
I think that was when I was a little boy, and I learned that you know, reptiles who lay eggs, and turtles, because I went to see leatherback turtles at the nesting sites. It says the sex of the animal actually depends on the temperature of the nest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So all that, and even if the temperature doesn't affect this bird or birds like these directly, what it would do, it would influence their prey and how they operate. So it will influence, say, insects, which will influence smaller birds, which will in turn influence these. So it's a cycle. Yeah. It's a cycle. So we've had periods, really dread periods last year, where the locusts just exploded all over, you know.
Yes, yeah.
And the farmers are crying about their crops, yet these same farmers and their friends and family would shoot birds of prey, like kites and so on, that help to control these. So it's a cycle. What you do, you know, comes back to bite you in the tuchus, as they say, you know. So we have to be a lot more sensible and understanding of that. We have to understand the whole science of how it works. But this leads to that. You get rid of frogs and then you cry about mosquitoes. It's just everything is linked in. And that's all the message we keep coming back, no matter what animal we bring on and how we approach it. It's the linking and the synergy with everything that is what's going to make us have better lives or really suffer as a people.
If only animals could talk.
Right? What would you say? You know what he would say? In the savannah.
Well, folks, it's been a wonderful Wild Wednesday. Jeremy, thanks so much once more. It's good seeing you, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Pastor Calmin. Ricardo.
People, love them, don't love them, respect them, appreciate them. The wild is what keeps us alive, and we need to keep Trinbago wild to keep this paradise, to keep our forests, our trees, our fruits, everything. They do their part. It's time for us to do our part. Reach one, teach one, so that we can all enjoy this beautiful country for many years to come.
Certainly. And Kes, you've been terrible as a host. I like people who are more vocal. I'm kidding. What an absolute, look at this size of it.
Yeah, he's
what an absolute beautiful creature. Look at that.
He's like the lion. He doesn't have to vocalize much, just his presence and the fact that he's cooling us down with those wing flaps. It's just, yeah, just try and knock me out there, yes. I know that was deliberate, you know.
Guys, thank you so much for what you do, and it's amazing how this started. From an interview about here in Trinidad and Tobago, the Tiki Vulture, to this. All this made possible because of the El Socorro Center for Wildlife Conservation. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you for having us as usual.
Always a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Seeing you next week.
Next week, Wild Wednesday.
Wild Wednesday.
All right, guys. I'm Keaton Shaw, and this has been AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. Have a great day ahead. Maybe a safe one, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning. Until then, take care.
WESN.
I'm Andre L. Batiste, and you're watching WESN, the Content Capital.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best. I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the Content Capital.
Join me, Dr. Nalini Kokram, on What's Up Doc, where we discuss all your burning questions concerning health.
Trinidad and Tobago is among one of the highest risk group of patients that develop this form of genetic breast cancer.
What I'd like to take home from a short interview like this, screening. You must screen.
Because it's silent.
It's silent.
Yeah.
And because it's silent, you don't know it's there.
What's Up Doc, every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
including US donations for the Israelis evacuated from the south after the Hamas attack on October the 7th. The teenagers here are exhilarated by Israel's military response in Gaza.
The people of Israel think that Hamas is the only thing stopping us, but that's not true. It's not just Hamas, it's everyone in Gaza. They all hate us. It doesn't matter if they're in Hamas or not.
But for many in the international community, Israel's occupation of Palestinian land is an obstacle to the two-state solution to this conflict.
We're going to zoom in on some other world news for you this Wednesday. And starting today, Pakistan will be deporting undocumented foreign nationals, many of them from neighboring Afghanistan. Some 2 million illegal Afghans are now facing deportation. More than a quarter of them left Afghanistan after the Taliban took power 2 years ago. Over the past 2 weeks, some 200,000 undocumented Afghan nationals have left Pakistan voluntarily. Well, to talk more about this with me now, let's go to Islamabad with France 24's Shazib Wala. Shazib, what more can you tell us?
Well, today the deadline for undocumented or illegal foreign nationals to leave Pakistan ends, and the federal government has issued an order giving powers to law enforcement authorities to arrest, detain, and deport any foreigner who is undocumented or their travel documents have expired. This move will mostly impact the Afghans living in the country. There are almost 1.7 million undocumented Afghans living in Pakistan. The ones who will be arrested will be kept in holding centers before they will be deported to Afghanistan. And a number of such holding centers have been set up across the country. But the fact is that Afghans have been arrested in Pakistan for several weeks now. Many Afghans even told us that they have faced harassment and extortions at the hand of the police, who takes advantage of their vulnerability. The Pakistani government has also called on its citizens to report Afghans living or working in their neighborhoods, and landlords have received letters from the government authorities urging them to evict their Afghan tenants. For now, the most vulnerable to this announcement are the Afghans who came to Pakistan after the Taliban took control in Afghanistan. Amongst them are journalists, human rights activists, people who worked with international forces, or also members of the former Afghan government and the former military. These people face serious threats back in Afghanistan, and a huge number of them have applied for asylums in the Western countries from embassies in Islamabad. And while their applications are under process, for a number of them, their current visas have expired. So they also face a threat to be deported back to Afghanistan. So it is in this climate of fear that almost 200,000 Afghans have chosen to return to Afghanistan voluntarily.
Shazib, tell us a bit more about the timing. Why is Pakistan doing this now?
Well, the Pakistani Interior Minister justified the deportation of unregistered Afghans by the number of Afghans he said were involved in the recent terrorist attacks in Pakistan. He said, and I quote, that of the 24 suicide attacks carried out since January, 14 are believed to have been carried out by Afghan nationals. For decades, Pakistan has been home to millions of Afghans who have sought refuge in Pakistan following the wars that have shaken the country. This wave of refugees began with the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in the 1980s and continued until the Taliban seized power in August 2021. Several human rights defenders and international organizations have made appeals to the Pakistani government to extend the deadline. But the caretaker government in Afghanistan the caretaker government in Pakistan doesn't seem to budge. They have gone on to say that in the next phase, even the Afghans with refugee documents will also be sent back, claiming the Pakistani government claims that the security situation in Afghanistan has improved.
Shazib, thank you for that. Shazib Wala reporting for us there from Islamabad. Next, King Charles says there is no excuse for colonial-era abuses during Britain's rule of Kenya. The king made those comments on day one of his trip to the East African nation that's marking its 60th anniversary of independence this year.
The wrongdoings of the past are a cause of the greatest sorrow and the deepest regret. There were abhorrent and unjustifiable acts of violence committed against Kenyans as they waged, as you said at the United Nations, a painful struggle for independence and sovereignty. And for that, there can be no excuse.
Well, there have been widespread calls for Charles to formally apologize to Kenya, the country Britain violently ruled for decades before its hard-fought independence in 1963. The king, though, has so far stopped short of making that formal apology for atrocities carried out in the name of the crown. There you can see those latest pictures of Charles with Queen Camilla. We'll leave you with that. Thanks for watching France 24. Stay with us.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
What did you love?
I don't know. It had everything I love. It was free, funny, unusual. It was moving. I can't really say, but it's fabulous.
C'est fabuleux.
Ressusciter la Rose is an original musical tribute based on an idea by Jean-Pierre Blanc, a man known for directing the prestigious Festival d'Hyères. The work, a marriage of fashion, music and design, is a celebration of 100 years of the Villa Noailles, a collection of Cubist-inspired buildings designed in the 30s by architect Robert Mallet-Stevens. It was commissioned by an iconic couple, Charles and Marie-Laure de Noailles. The villa quickly became the go-to meeting place for the French avant-garde. So what exactly is the couple's legacy?
I didn't have the pleasure or the privilege of knowing them personally, but from what we know, there was an extraordinary generosity there. Real open-mindedness. They loved meeting new people, loved sharing. And in any case, those are the things that I want to be remembered for. And their legacy will always be those incredible works that are part of the global heritage of beauty. Sculptures by Alberto Giacometti, paintings by Salvador Dali, Man Ray's films by Buñuel, all those works of literature they helped see to fruition. Also dance and music. La danse, la musique.
And of course, fashion.
So how does all that come through in the clothes we see today?
Well, this, for example, is the latest autumn-winter collection by Paco Rabanne. I wanted to choose a dress that, for me, represents what Hyères can be, what the villa can be, whether that's about the colors or the cuts. But I also wanted it to evoke Marie-Laure de Noailles, who was just so extravagant. She was so interesting in her way of being or thinking about fashion, but also about art in general.
We do describe Marie-Laure de Noailles as revolutionary.
Yes, she was absolutely amazing. She has this way of changing things. Let's take her Bal des Matières, or the material ball, as you might translate it. The idea was that each guest come in an outfit made from something other than fabric. So there were dresses made from fish skin. It was amazing, really out-of-the-box thinking. And I think that amazing energy can be found in the 3 different shows here.
As for the opera itself, 2 designers came up with the outfits worn by the cast and by the members of the Toulon Symphony Orchestra.
For me, you can't talk about Marie-Laure without also talking about Charles. Without Charles, there is no Marie-Laure. He would be the one to cope better, solo, no question, but I love them together. I don't like the idea that one would leave a greater legacy than the other. Without Charles, no one would have been able to pay for the construction of the villa. There'd have been nothing. And without Marie-Laure, Charles would have just been some rich and unknown man. They were really a marvelous couple.
Tell us a bit about the clothes you're going to be presenting tonight.
All the girls are wearing the same thing, but with different details depending on what the scene requires. There's one scene that happens in a swimming pool on a swing. That was my point of departure. There's a dress that's cubist. There's also, of course, a surrealist one too. I'd call it all controlled extravagance. What you shouldn't miss is all the embroidery work I did, the painting, all those details that I applied to the clothes, details that called to mind my other work.
Sur le vêtement qui ressemble à mon travail en général.
I think that the feeling that I'm trying to evoke is the spirit of Villenoix, the spirit of freedom, of creativity.
Un esprit de liberté, de geste, de création.
The villa itself forms the opera's principal backdrop, but there's an exciting addition in the form of an original tapestry by Manon Davier.
Which technique did you use?
Le tufting. The technique is called tufting. It's a mechanical technique. So you stretch a piece of fabric on a wooden frame, and then you draw on it. Then you use a sort of gun that you put the wool inside, and that's what pierces the fabric. And then I sort of mow the wool to create different thicknesses. The result is a fleecy surface with a really sculptural aspect.
Among the actors, 2 pop stars experimenting with a new art form.
It's really an amazing experience, and yeah, like you say, just so artistic. It's quite mad to be here, this amazing place that's 100 years old. People had to design and build this place. As for my role, I tried not to draw too much attention to myself. I really wanted to inhabit the role, to put my mark on it, while also trying to stay true to myself.
I think that the heritage we're talking about here is about continuing to be faithful to freedom and to the rich diversity of artists we've welcomed here. It's very moving to be able to offer this tribute to Marie-Laure and Charles, to turn a small part of Marie-Laure's dream into reality like that. It's very moving.
Arts patrons like the Noailles are hard to come by these days, but luxury goods companies like Montex, Le Marié and Chanel have taken their place. A little less rock and roll, but no less effective.
Murders since the beginning of the year. A bloody drug war rages in France's second most populated city of Marseille. In broad daylight, a gunfight takes place. A 26-year-old man is killed in cold blood. As is often the case, the video gets rapidly shared across social media. He is one victim out of the dozens killed in the city since January. We mapped out where these incidents took place. Notably, the 14th arrondissement, where we find nearly half of the deaths. This is where La Paternelle is located, an area in the city infamous for the sale of drugs. It's situated close to the A7 motorway, which links all of the major urban centers in the region, providing direct access from dealer to consumer. The housing estate is easily recognized by its red buildings and multi-story flats, a strategic location for drug traffickers. 2 gangs in particular are waging a merciless war against one another. On one side, the Yoda gang, named after the beloved Star Wars character who has become the emblem for the group, as we see on this wall. The little green alien smoking a little green. The tag appears around the neighborhood to mark the clan's territory. On the other side, the DZ Mafia, a reference to the word Zaire, which means Algeria in Arabic. At several dealing spots, we see the symbol of the fennec, Algeria's national animal. The alleged heads of each organization are 2 men. Mehdi A. Al runs the DZ Mafia. He's known for his participation in a triple homicide. And Felix B. heads the Yoda clan. He was convicted in 2019 for criminal conspiracy and possession of weapons. The pair are practically bulletproof, managing their businesses from Algeria and Morocco.
WESN. Diwali Passport, brought to you by the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago and Chatak Food Products.
It comes naturally to us, unstoppable energy. We share it. We use it to live better. We are manifesting a green and sustainable future. NGC, pursuing sustainability at the forefront of energy.
When it comes to Pira and Laddu, I just use Chattak's Laddu and Pira Mithai Mix. It's a combination of traditional ingredients in one pack. I don't spend all that time preparing different ingredients like Ma. 3/4 of the work is done. So now I can make fresh, delicious Pira and Laddu in about 15 minutes with the convenience of Chattak's Laddu and Pira Mithai Mix. Now Ma's Kitchen is a Chattak kitchen. Now available Gulab Jamun Instant Mithai Mix.
The Festival of Lights glows once again in many nations. Let's take a trip and find the interesting variations. Some are quiet and simple, and others filled with family and friends. Join us now for Diwali Passport on WESN. Today, we take a short flight, roughly an hour, and visit the only English-speaking country in South America, our neighbors, Guyana. Historically, Guyana was dominated by the Locono and Kalina tribes, and then was colonized by the Dutch, before coming under British control in the late 18th century, and then they became British Guiana. By the way, Guyana or Guyana means land of many waters, and the country is located on the northeast coast of South America. Guyana is divided into 3 counties, Essequibo, Demerara, and Berbice. The capital, Georgetown, is based in Demerara. About 42 times the size of Trinidad, Guyana's population is relatively small, just under 800,000. And just like Trinidad and Tobago, their 2 major ethnic groups are Indo and Afro-Guyanese, with other groups being Amerindian, Chinese, Portuguese, and some European. As far as religion goes, the country is roughly 64% Christian, 25% Hindu, and 7% Muslim. The tradition of celebrating the Diwali festival was brought to Guyana by indentured laborers who immigrated from India beginning in 1838 during the time of the British rule. According to historic accounts, the Hindu immigrants struggled to maintain their culture and religion with limited means in those times. Diyas were made out of mud, but the little lights served as a beacon of hope to them as they toiled under the most difficult conditions. However, over the years, it has grown into one of Guyana's biggest celebrations, embraced by citizens of all backgrounds. Weeks before the big day, Guyanese Hindus observe a vegetarian fast and also abstain from alcohol. The custom of cleaning and decorating the house is the norm here too. On the actual day of Diwali, the usual Lakshmi Puja is done either at home or at temples, followed by a day of visiting or entertaining friends and family. Of course, food, sweets, and diya lighting are typical of the holiday in Guyana too. People wake up early to cook various dishes that Guyanese refer to as 7 curry, in addition to sweet meats, which isn't actually meat, but delicious sweets and treats, or mithai, and the ever-popular sweet rice. One of the main events of the festival in Guyana is a countrywide motorcade by the Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha, based in Georgetown. Incredibly, it's been staged for over 42 years and is the only event of its kind in this region. And these motorcades have become synonymous with the celebration of Diwali in Guyana. The streets and the seawall are filled with onlookers who enjoy the sight of elaborately decorated vehicles and the dazzling display of floats with lights, music, and actors dressed as Hindu mythological characters. The different mandirs host the motorcades in their own regions, and the grand motorcade happens on the evening before Diwali. The Guyana Hindu Dharmic Sabha also hosts a Rangoli contest for secondary schools where the children use their artistic skills to create intricate designs on the ground, and it's open for schools all over Guyana. Yet another element of their celebration leading up to Diwali is a relatively new event called the Sari Queen Pageant, which began in 2019 and is held by the Guyana Divya Jyoti Association. I'm Shamji. Let's meet again for another exciting trip on WESN's Diwali Passport.
It comes naturally to us, unstoppable energy. We share it. We use it to live better. We are manifesting a green and sustainable future. NGC, pursuing sustainability at the forefront of energy.
I just love Diwali. I put everything in place so my home is perfect for this season. And thanks to the little store, I get everything in one place. I picked up some Anand and Shankar brand wax diyas, hand-painted clay diyas, my coconut oil, cotton wicks, all my puja items, plus step-by-step guide to Diwali puja and Havan. My home will look and feel like Diwali with pretty hanging decorations, floating lights, rangolis and flowers, all from the little store. I'm all set to welcome Lakshmi Ma and all my guests. I've ordered some delicious fresh mithai in decorated boxes and bags, and got some frozen vegetarian products, spices, all my groceries, and hygienic paper sohari leaves for a delectable Diwali feast. Go to the little store in Curep. They've got additional parking and they're open on Sundays. Check them on Facebook or call 663-4415.
Diwali Passport was brought to you by the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago and the Little Store Limited.
WESN.
Here is the WESN News on the Hour. I am Sira Ali. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Venezuelan asylum seekers' deportation attempt thwarted by TNT High Court. Anti-political leader criticizes Customs Act on camouflage items. Ministry of Health reaffirms dedication to safe medication access. And internationally, South Africa's rugby union team are the world's rugby champs. Now for the details. In a setback, former Venezuelan mayor attempting to evade deportation from Trinidad and Tobago, High Court Judge Frank C. Passard delivered a decisive blow to his last-minute legal efforts to secure asylum in Trinidad and Tobago. Following extensive legal arguments, Judge C. Passard issued an oral judgment rejecting the injunction application presented by lawyers representing Delvis Jose Reyes Garcia. The judge stated that Garcia's legal challenge lacked merit. Delvis Jose Reyes Garcia, aged 36, had been detained in Cocorite on September 22nd after reportedly entering Trinidad and Tobago unlawfully while fleeing threats in Venezuela due to his involvement with the opposition party. He had applied for asylum through the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and that application is still pending. NTA political leader Gary Griffith has strongly criticized the Customs Act, which bans citizens from using any clothing or items with camouflage patterns. Describing it as dumb and ridiculous, Griffith's comments followed the recent arrest of a 32-year-old woman from Moruga who was detained over the weekend for wearing camouflage pants. Allegedly, the woman not only wore the prohibited clothing, but also resisted arrest, used offensive language, displayed disorderly behavior, and assaulted a police officer. Griffith contends that the law lacks practicality and serves no meaningful purpose. Amid growing concerns within the public discourse regarding the drug registration process, the Ministry of Health has reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to ensuring that the public can legally access safe medications. These concerns, initially raised by professional pharmacists, have prompted the ministry to address the issue. In an official statement, the ministry emphasized that it remains the competent authority responsible for regulating the safety, quality, and effectiveness of all medications available for public consumption. Internationally, South Africa's rugby union team are back home from France after winning the World Cup for a record 4th time. The players were met at Tambo Airport in Johannesburg by a huge, rapturous crowd on Tuesday. South Africa is the most successful team at the World Cup after winning 4 titles in 8 appearances. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I am Sira Ali. Thanks for watching.
My name is Carl Media, and I'm the founder and the host of Ever Increasing Voice Ministries. Join me every Saturday and Sunday on WESN, this powerful station, at 9 a.m. on Saturdays, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. nightly. Also on Sundays, I'll be on at 7 a.m., 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. at night time. When you come here, we are getting people heavenly ready.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the home store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue, St. Anne's, WESN 30A Gattaca Street, Woodbrook, Metropolitan Bookshop, Ariapita Avenue, Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People.
WESN.
Good morning, folks. This is WESN's Talking Points on the station, broadcasted in HD. Sean Michael Small here once again to have the conversation today. Of course, the good lady herself will be joining me later. And for those who have been keeping up with the news overnight and potentially through social media, Prime Minister had some things to say, other people had some things to say after. And there was one story that I did not get to, that's a few days old, but it warrants, even though it's a couple days late, for me to still visit it. So, let's start off today's Daily Review. And yesterday, I believe, the Prime Minister, well, it was yesterday morning, actually, almost 24 hours ago, I think, the Prime Minister released a statement on his Facebook page, and I don't believe that there was any further comments, but we have the statement there we could put up on the screen, and notwithstanding the persistent efforts of the various state machinery, the selection of violence as a way of life, the love affair and glamorization of firearms, and the wanton disregard for human life in Trinidad and Tobago has now gone beyond concerning to the ridiculous. That is the first statement there in or the first paragraph in the Prime Minister's statement about the crime situation in this country. And my thing is, it's only now become ridiculous to you, because I'm kind of confused. Technically speaking, if we have 60 murders for the next 2 months, we might actually be under by, 1 or 2 murders or a handful of murders from last year's. So what is with the timing of this message? Because it's not as though we're seeing the next escalation. I don't know if maybe combined with the more high-powered ammunition and weaponry that was confiscated in the last go-around, or because most of what's happened this year is not new. Most of what's happened in the last month is not entirely new. Murder or killing of children, that's new, but that's been going on for more or less a year. That's not a recent thing. Fake police uniforms and even authentic police uniforms and blue lights being part of a weapons cache conversation, that's not a new thing. The murder rate hitting 600, that's not a new thing, that happened last year. So the Prime Minister used what is now becoming my favorite word when hearing about crime-fighting messaging. The state will redouble all efforts to curtail these violent outbursts. I do believe at some point the Minister of National Security and or the Commissioner of Police used that phrase already for the year. And then I do believe sometime last year, either the Minister of National Security or the then acting Commissioner of Police used that phrase. So I have to ask, is it that you redouble the efforts for a little while and then, went back down to normal, despite the fact that there were no improvements to be seen over the last couple of years? Or is it that you're redoubling the efforts that were already redoubled after redoubling the first time? So we're doubling the double of the double. So it's times 8 the effort now? We're going to get times 8 the effort from state agencies to curtail violence? Is that what you're saying? Because I didn't get the memo when we came down from the redoubling the last couple of times, if it was only limited to 2. More importantly, the results do not seem to bear fruit when the state redoubles its efforts. If I put 1% effort and I redouble that, it's 2% effort. I'm pretty sure if you tell anybody 2% effort, they'll say that's not good enough. I'm not saying the state is only having 1% effort, but what I am saying is the results more or less seems to make me think that either redoubling the efforts doesn't have any practical value if somehow it's actually achieved that the efforts are redoubled, or it's just a lot of talk. So not too long after that, let me just double check the time in here. Well, later in the day, there was a meeting at the Prime Minister's residence. We have a photo from the Office of the Prime Minister's Facebook page. In attendance to the meeting, of course, you have the head of the National Security Council, the Prime Minister himself. You have the Minister of National Security. You have the Attorney General. Okay, yeah. You have the acting Chief of Defense Force Staff Group, not the head of the Defense Force, not the head of the regiment. You have the head of the staff, I believe is the title. The Commissioner of Police, the Minister of Energy, okay, he's the Minister of everything, every group has that one guy who everybody else expects to do all the work. And Minister of Housing and Urban Development, who is, all right, maybe, it's not just a photo opportunity, head of government business in-house, all right, okay. I don't know. To me, this all seems like a couple years late and $1 short, a few $1 billion short. This sort of statements should have been made 2 years ago. This sort of action should have been done 2 years ago. how do I take it seriously now when you're no longer concerned? It's beyond concerning. It's now beyond concerning. After the Peter Kane massacre, after the Laland murder, when basically an accuser is killed potentially by the people who she was accusing a crime of, after other children were killed as collateral damage in gangsters killing gangsters, after last year, we're in October. Sorry, this is November the 1st. Last year had a 600 murder rate. We're on pace for another 600 murder rate here. It's now gone from concerning to ridiculous. Technically, not much has changed. So if this is the litmus test, it was ridiculous last year, you just didn't want to admit it. I mean, I don't know what you're doing. Remember, the Minister of National Security, it's not his job to have a crime plan. So I don't know why you're all meeting. Because if it's not his job to have a crime plan, then it's definitely not the Minister of Energy's job, Minister of Housing's job, and the Prime Minister's job to have a crime plan. So I don't know what you're meeting for. You'll just facilitate the commissioner, who y'all have probably spent more time trying to not speak negatively of, because at the end of the issue is your appointment, who has failed brilliantly with regards to public relations in crime fighting, and that aspect of the job of Commissioner of Police. And the results, the practical results are not there. The only good practical results I know of, and I could be wrong, the only good ones that I know of is from the Special Victims Units, and that's technically a unit that was formed by her predecessor's predecessor. Surprised that that unit lasted. So I'm just kind of, the timing of it, it was almost as though, because I think the Prime Minister, yeah, I mean, he had some trips and there were some events and election, I don't know, you know. What incumbent wants to talk about things going wrong during the election period? So it's almost as though they scheduled when he was finally going to show some emotion over this crime situation. And which is why, so let's move on to the second topic, which is why I can't necessarily fault the opposition leader for how she describes this. Attempts to appear tough, but cannot continue putting a public relations plaster on a crime problem. Well, I would argue, opposition leader, that if you think that even half of the official communication on national security has been a public relations plaster, I do question your judgment, because it's mostly been a public relations disaster. I'm just saying. So I don't know how, you know, that's like trying to plaster your wound with another wound. That's what they've been doing with regards to communication and public relations on the police and crime fighting. That's my opinion. The use of selective fake outrage for public relations will not lessen the violent crime crisis. I half agree with that statement. The government now saying it's ridiculous and it's kind of late. We would have liked to hear this a lot sooner, further in the past. This might have been a lot more effective if done 2 years ago, something like this. I wouldn't necessarily call it fake outrage. But it's very difficult for me to then say it's not fake outrage, it's genuine. I don't want to call it fake outrage, but I can't, it's very hard. The position that I'm in, given the timing of how they decided to communicate this thing, it's very, very hard for me to 100% disagree with that statement. Because I can't actually, I want to, but I can't actually think of a reasonable argument on a practical level. The only thing I have is, well, you know, that's not a nice thing to say. He's human too. They're human too. So of course they're going to feel bad. But to some extent, that don't matter, because you're not seeing it in the actions. Where I can't assume and interpret motive out of nothing, because the actions don't lend credence to counteract the opposition leader's claim. And she's right though, this meeting, and we put out a photo, and we put out a statement. Who cares? Criminals don't care about death. You think they care about the Prime Minister's outrage? Is it that politicians are so used to people being yes men, which is why they don't like people like me and Karen Shishera. They're so surrounded by yes men, and they want to be surrounded by yes men. In fact, I do wonder if the former Attorney General Faris Sawari, he has too many yes men, but that's anecdotal observation of mine. Is it that they don't understand that criminals are not also going to be yes men? That they are not just going to fall in line? You can get your cabinet to fall in line, yes, because they have political stakes in not pissing off their boss. Criminals don't care if they piss off the Prime Minister. Who's you? Who is you? To the criminal situation in the country, you are merely the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Remember, it's not the government's job to have a crime plan. The Minister of National Security said so himself. And when you have managed the situation the way that you have, why are the criminals going to be afraid? You have literally proven to them the ineffectiveness of the government situation. The opposition leader also called for the crime talks. Just that fact alone, it was in the papers. Criminals could read news too, at least the big bosses, right? When they see the crime talks stall or fail, they basically laugh at themselves and laugh at the government. See, jokers wrapped around our little finger. They don't know what to do. Why should we fear them at anything that they want to do? Because they can't implement nothing. Meanwhile, third story, implementation, having an effective plan. Opposition leaders calling us out. I can't disagree with the basic sentiments of what she said. I know she's doing this for politics, right? I get it. I understand. I don't like it. But at least for the most part, the general idea of a message, I can't get an argument to refute it. I agree with it, for the most part. MP Keith Scotland, time to revisit, this is the headline, time to revisit bail for murder law. Here's the example, right? Apparently, Keith Scotland responded to a media house on the issue of how a murder accused was able to access bail for possession of firearms and ammunition despite already being on bail for murder. The Bail Act needs to be revisited. All right, I get that. On the surface, I get that. You allowed someone on bail for murder to then get bail for another crime. Questionable decision by the judge there. However, usually the smoking gun is the murderer was let out and then he continued to do murder. This murderer was let out and got killed. Not necessarily the best example of why we need the Bail Act. More importantly, in theory, so I have to ask, is he the only example of a murderer out on bail that, somebody could come up with? If there are no other examples, then the long and short is the situation seems to be working more than it's not working. More importantly, with a 13% detection rate, this Bail Act will only apply to, on average, 13% of murderers. Tell me, do we want to talk about solutions that solve 13% of the problem? Again, when you redouble efforts, 1% effort could be 2% effort. That's a far cry from 100% effort. Usually when you redouble efforts, it's something like we're all out at 100% and we'll figure out a way to go past that. Past that. But all that, I hate this bail bill debate. I hate that it's one of the primary focuses of crime talks. When it's a secondary matter because it's not actually going to deal with the majority of criminals and the majority of violent crime. It's only going to deal with a subsection of a subsection. But if that's the hill you want to die on, because again, they don't think they're going to survive past 25. They don't fear death. You think a lack of bail is going to slow this down? The current set of criminals are not you in a criminal hat, and what you fear is what they will fear. So I don't understand, what is this fascination about removing bail? If we had murderers getting out on bail and then committing more murders, okay, fine. Give me those examples. But for the most part, if you can't even catch them, what's the point of debating if we should give them bail or not? Most of them already have bail by default because they're out scot-free. What's being done about that? I don't know. But whatever it is we're doing, it's not working, but we're going to redouble it. We're going to redouble what's not working. Thank you. Folks, let's end this conversation there. The good lady is here. I don't want to have her waiting any longer. Stay tuned to Talking Point on WSN. When we come back, we're going to switch gears on this topic. Going to go back to the economy because way too many problems. And I'm worried that we can't afford to solve all these problems. Literally. Stay tuned.
Simon's Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in new and used musical instruments, carrying top brands like Yamaha, Pearl River pianos, vinyl and Sabian cymbals, Remo and Evans drumheads and Fender guitars, just to name a few. Also a wide assortment of music books, pan and accessories. At Simon's, we service what we sell. Trust the leader. Call us now at 625-6412 or visit us at 20 Board Street, Port of Spain.
Let the home store turn your house into a home you love. Get everything you need to give your home that special look and feel. We offer household items, lawn and garden, paint center, hardware, plumbing, lighting and electrical, toys and storage solutions. 5 convenient locations: 6th Avenue Barataria, The Falls at Westmore, Pennywise Plaza Shoguanas, C3 Center Branch and C3 San Fernando. Check out our Facebook page for more information and come visit us today. The Home Store. Turn your house into a home you love.
Bill and Ruth fell in love with the Benjamin Moore color Dry Sage, but they tried to match it using another brand's paint.
I mean, it's close enough.
Almost identical, really. Yeah, there it is.
Never trust another paint to be a Benjamin Moore color.
My name is Carl Media, and I'm the founder and the host of ever-increasing voice ministries. Join me every Saturday and Sunday on WESN, this powerful station, at 9 a.m. on Saturdays, 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. nightly. Also on Sundays, I'll be on at 7 a.m., 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. at night time. When you come here, we are getting people heavenly ready.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movie Town, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Welcome back to Talk About, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined by the good lady herself, former Minister of Finance, attorney at law, legal scholar, Mrs. Karen Yeshishel. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning to you, Sean. Now, I know our show is a serious show, but a little levity can be allowed at times. And I'm just going to say, I cannot sing, but I know you'll know it from Kaz. I feel like I win $1 million because you see the man sitting on next to me, I almost didn't recognize him today. Is he, wow? Yes, he looking sharp. Yes, yes, yes,
I'll
yes.
just say, I got stopped at a gas station yesterday. A guy said the same thing. He couldn't, he almost didn't recognize me because I didn't have the hair. So I'll just throw that one out there, right?
But we looking good, so that's the end of that little part. I can't sing, but we just found that out.
If I lost like 20 pounds, then I might agree with you.
Of
so
course, can you imagine? I'd be going to be able to hold you back. Hollywood would be calling.
I don't know what I want.
Hollywood would be calling.
But
anyhow,
let's move on to the topic. All right, enough about me. Let's move on to the topic because you've been here. You've talked a lot about various aspects of the economy, maybe about energy, and you know, all throughout the years, you've had some red flags. I mean. Some of the things that you called out, Nekwan, etc., natural gas supply, etc., these concerns, they have, despite the fact that when it seemed as though maybe your fears weren't being realized and you were willing to congratulate the government for successes, only for things to kind of turn around and still be in this relatively insufficient pattern, right?
Rabbit hole, I would call it.
So we were talking about it yesterday, and it seems as though to me that we have interim measures, and I think it's almost as though, well, it's survival, it's good to survive, but given the state of things, right, I don't know if it's enough, and I think you also, that's basically what your argument is.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's it, because I know last week we did start talking, and I did spend some time on the issue with regard to CARICOM and in relation to, you know, well, I spent a good bit of time talking about the concerns I would have about Venezuela in general. But what I really wanted to focus on more today is the opportunity I think that CARICOM presents us in a way that perhaps we may have had it before, but I don't think we've ever had it to the extent to which we now have it, and I think we need to capitalize on it. And see, and I do think the government, through the Minister of Foreign Affairs, he's a very measured, very intelligent gentleman, I give him that. And I think that CARICOM has taken on a new sort of, there you can see an energy, an energizing of CARICOM and its importance. And I speak specifically, not all of them are all important, but right now, because we are an energy economy, Suriname and Ghana become very important. And I want to look at that in the context of the Venezuela alternative, not on what I had said before, but looking at the reality of our situation. And so I want to start first. I'm not going to go through all the economic data today. I'm going to deal with just the very recent, which should put all of us on pause, because we are a one-trick pony. We have caused that on ourselves, and we have done that for many years. And so that's the reality. And it's not even good enough to tell me it is what it is. No, it's not as what it is. That's what governance is about. And in fact, just as an aside to that, I don't know if I mentioned last week that the Prime Minister, Imran Ali, who appears to be a very reasonable and very CARICOM focused individual, and I'm very happy about that, did say that we don't have to talk about diversification in Ghana because we've done it all our lives. We've had bauxite, we've had timber, we've had tourism. There's a lot in tourism, you know, the ecotourism is very big there. They have islands almost the size of Tobago in their rivers, you know.
Right.
And there's gold and bauxite and so on. So he said we've always done that. So they understand that. That's something now we have had to understand. And why I'm starting today is looking at our economy. And I'm just looking at the most recent developments. One of them is, which the newspapers has covered, but I'm going to mention it. I guess for those who may not happen to understand how important it is. And you know with the issue of VAT. Now, when you pay the VAT, you have to look for VAT refunds. And it has been a strategy of governments to take their good time to pay back VAT refunds because they use that money to pay off other debts that they have pending. And whilst you may say, the problem about that, of course, is that there are many, especially small and micro businesses that depend on their VAT refunds to keep on going and to keep on paying their staff and keep on ordering stuff. So it is not just a matter of they want back their VAT refunds, it's a matter of it's even critical to the continuance of their business, especially for the small and micro enterprise. And we know one of the UN Development Sustainable Goals, which is included in our 2020 and 2030 goals, is closing the income inequality gap. But what is it telling about the VAT is that the Prime Minister, I do not know, I say this all the time, it really is a Freudian slip, you know. The Minister of Finance, I really do mean it is a Freudian slip. But he, you know, tells us in his very gleeful and cheerful way that he has, that they were giving the VAT back to people, and we had this VAT bond, and you were going to pay it back in bonds as well as, you know, you could also wait for your refund. Okay, so what is the downside of it? We've heard about recently, and shows you the state of the economy. The central bank said that about the 5.5%, there's been a downturn in the amount of US currency that they have received, because the largest amount, according to, or the major contributor to our US foreign exchange reserve, which is our reserve currency, because nobody's traded in our dollars. Nobody, not even Barbados. You can't pay them in anything else but US dollar. That is the dollar that they want, or euro or pound maybe. And he says that what the energy companies or other major companies did is they bought up the VAT bonds, and then they sold it to the banks. And what happened then is that what they used to have to do was sell more US to the banks and have it converted to TT dollars. Why? Because they had to pay their employees, they had to pay their local contractors and all of their local commitments. Now that they bought the bonds and then sold it to the banks, they don't have to change as much US currency into TT dollars, and therefore there's nothing to prevent them, once they have paid their revenue, their taxes to central bank as required by law, to do what they want with their profits. So you are seeing even a diminution in our foreign exchange reserves, because the last figures I saw, I mean, it's really disturbing. Just the other day it was 6.8, but in August it was 6.2. And I think in September went to 6.3 because natural gas is going a little above the $3 that we had budgeted for. It's going at $3.59, right? But even if the price is going up, you know we don't have the gas, so it doesn't matter, in a sense, how high it goes. If you don't have the product, you know, you can make but so much. So the VAT issue is affecting our foreign exchange reserves, and it's telling you that we are, there are problems. The other thing was, when Leroy Batiste, who is the head of the PSA, said that the permanent secretary told him they could not pay the $1 billion to the public servants in December, but they could do it by May. He got pulled up for doing that. But whether he got pulled up for doing that or not, that in itself therein hangs a tail. So we are seeing our foreign exchange reserves going from 6.8 just a few months ago, you know. Well, the other day it was 10.14, you know. Now we reached 6.3 for September, and it was 6.2 in August, and it's been down in that downward trajectory. So you've seen it with the VAT, you're seeing it with the foreign exchange, and you're seeing with the fact that they apparently cannot pay that $1 billion. So this brings us to what our choices are. And Trinidad has to take a hard look, you know, like Alcoholics Anonymous. You laugh. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous, take a hard look. You know, first of all,
Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm an oil addict.
Yes, no, seriously, you know, first denial, then anger, and then acceptance. Okay, so I think we need to reach acceptance very fast, because the reality is, this is the reality. We need, and this is the Prime Minister said this, I'm not just saying it, he said it. We need about 4.1 billion cubic feet of gas per day to serve the LNG and the downstream industries. We do need that. We have 2.7, either 2.7 or 2.8, and that's with all the other little oil wells that are giving us some millions cubic feet. It's just not enough. We don't have the natural gas, and we never diversified. We didn't do it. So where are we now? Are we going to have for the next few years? And the difficulty is, and this is what we have to face. I have said that I may be wrong, and you can correct me, I'm sure, because you know I know you're more would be able to tell me. But I think I heard that the Minister of Energy say that we would have gas from Dragonfield by 2025. I don't know why I think I heard him say that. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to say I'm wrong. But even if he did or did not say it, the earliest we could have, as every energy expert will tell you, is at least 4 to 5 years. That's from Dragonfield. It's much less from Manatee. Much less for Laurel Manatee. So that's on the Venezuelan side. Because even the Prime Minister said it in September 2019. He said we'd get gas from Dragonfield in 2024, and that was in September 2019 when he made that statement. And we know they're not even near to coming to that, which we have spoken about already. So what are we doing in the interim? We have no other foreign exchange reserve, foreign exchange earners. Really, manufacturing is not earning that much. And by the way, when you look at manufacturing, please disengage the petrochemical industries from what they call manufacturing, because they put them all together and it sounds really good. But when you look at it, it's really a lot of it is the petrochemical, urea, ammonia, and then it looks good.
Which needs natural gas.
Huh?
Which needs natural gas. That's
yeah,
why.
exactly. That's the feedstock.
We're not talking about some other chemical
Yeah,
industry.
we're not talking about beverages. We're not talking about food and beverages, okay? So they put it all together, but that's not the reality, okay? So it's looking good. This is all part of the spin that gets me so concerned. So where are we now? Reality is for the next 4 or 5 years, we're not going to have the amount of natural gas. And even I'm not even sure if we will make it. But I want to be positive. Not so positive, but anyhow, try to be positive. Well, we have Tobago has gas. So you see Tobago come in handy. San Mirage, God bless his soul. See what you think they say about the people? Take it back, because that might be a savior. Understand that. Trinidad and Tobago, because all of a sudden you wouldn't want to say Tobago, you'll want to say Trinidad and Tobago. Just remember that. But as it is, we haven't reached that. We have not reached there. So what is the situation now? So the situation now is that I think that we have to look at the CARICOM in a way that we didn't do before. And Dr. Ali, as we saw a lot of Trinidadians go over, because we have the CSME, which is to allow not only movement of goods and services, but skilled persons. So we are seeing that movement, but there's also other opportunities. We know natural gas, and then we've been in that business since 1907. They have not been. They discovered their first set of gas in 2013, okay? I'm sorry, yes, 2013, that's when they did discover it. So the point about it is that they know we have the expertise, and why not turn to CARICOM? But it's not just for us to go there and get much better salaries than we're getting here. But the opportunities of CARICOM is for intra-regional trade. The opportunities for CARICOM is to set up businesses, joint venture businesses with Guyanese nationals. I mean, if ExxonMobil could get in there, why can't we get in there? And by the way, with ExxonMobil, they've taken a hard look at them, because I don't know if I mentioned it on the last show, but they are questioning a claim by ExxonMobil of US $7.3 billion as an expense, as a cost of removing the negative, like the iron and the radioactive material, etc. When they drill a well,
yeah, what's
they
in the ground?
They have to get rid of it.
Yeah, some of the stuff they have to.
Right,
yeah.
and it's a lot. And they're claiming, and they brought in external auditors to question that figure.
Yeah.
Because they're saying, why not inject it back into the wells when your well has been, utilized, rather than producing it, cleaning it and overboarding, sending it back in the water and creating more of a problem. So they're getting strict with ExxonMobil. There's opportunities for us. I just read now, these are 4 women in Ghana who have been awarded 2 rounds, bid rounds, one in the shallow bid round, and a deep water bid round. 4 women who have been awarded the bid rounds for exploitation and exploration of natural gas. So there's also a company in Trinidad called ICON. It is a Guyanese company, but I think it has its base in Trinidad, that has a small LNG plant that they use for providing domestic use and domestic gas. And industrial gas for Ghana. All I'm saying is the opportunities are endless for us.
And it doesn't have to be limited to gas, right?
No, right. I just want to finish with the gas too. Just to say that in 2013, see, this is the thing about not acting, In 2013, I think they realized they needed to have an energy policy. So Dr. Devon Gardner, who was the head of that policy, did a document. And he says now that the document is no longer adequate. Ghana's changing fossil position, dwindling national gas from Trinidad and Tobago production, the emergence of changing dynamics of markets for technology. So he says it won't be ready till 2025. A lost opportunity. And Ghana is telling us they don't want our refinery. They told us that. They said we only want one. And we have an MOU with the Dominican Republic. Yes, they've told us that. Yes, they've told us they don't want it. Very clearly. So what's happening with that refinery sitting on there? It really probably is scrap metal now. Why did the government do that? What thinking went behind closing on something without a plan? Without a plan. And then you know what they...
No, just they closed down something and used it as collateral for a loan and then tried to sell it and the loan.
Okay, but all the thinking,
so
what thinking went into it? And there was advice on that, which we're not going to go into, that they didn't need to close down, you need to rationalize it. But they don't want our refinery. They told us that. They said it's too old. And to repair it is going to cost them more than to build a new refinery, and they are doing that with DR. LNG, there was a consideration of moving our LNG trains over to Ghana. And you know what the Guyanese have said? They said they're too old. They're too old now. They are saying that we need more recent technology. So they're not interested in moving over our trains over there. And then when it comes to the other suggestion about perhaps we should have move over the pipeline, to put a pipeline into Ghana. This is what they said. From Ghana to Point Lisa or Point Fortin has been contemplated. The distance between Starbuck Block and the location of LNG plant in Point Fortin, 400 kilometers, gives reason for pause. So they say, and this man, so everything they've shut down. So the reality is, but the good news is that Ghana is willing to work with us. They're willing to not only encourage our people to come over there, but clearly to get into joint ventures. I mean, if we sold cocoa, if they never grew cocoa in England, but they produced Cadbury, if they never produced tea in England, but they had high tea and tea, why can't we now, which is what CARICOM is about, inter-regional trade, moving the common external tariff between the regions to allow and encourage trade, not only trade in goods and services as well as people, and develop our business venture. So it seems to me, an agro-industry, do you know the head of the agro-industry policy is the president? And he is behind it full. There's a whole policy.
I think he's also, with regards to CARICOMs.
That's what I'm talking about, CARICOM.
Okay,
It's CARICOM I'm talking about.
I thought you meant Guyana's.
No.
Okay.
He's talking about CARICOM. He says we'd have to take the lead for agricultural diversification and food security. And he's supporting private sector. He's saying there's so many. They're saying they want to reduce within the CARICOM region 25% imports by 2025. Look at the advantages. Food inflation, which is a major cause of inflation in many countries. Income inequality, allowing opportunities for other players to enter into the market. Reducing our food import bill and really building an inter-regional agro-processing industry. We already have Novo in Trinidad who is doing that already. So what I'm saying is Guyana and CARICOM, you know, what you see as a crisis is really an opportunity. So I have argued, I think, very strongly, I think, for us to embrace CARICOM, get over ourselves. Yes, they're in the driver's seat now. We in the passenger seat, we might be in the back seat for it, right now. But it's not that it says we gone on pause. It's not that we don't have any natural gas, and it's not that there isn't possibility, at least from Tobago, for natural gas. But for the time being, CARICOM and Guyana and Suriname, they are members of the CCJ, just to tell you their commitment to the Caribbean region. That alone tells you their commitment to the region. So now I will just turn quickly to Venezuela, and I won't go over the arbitral, which, by the way, our government came out and said that they did, a very small article, that said that they did not support Venezuela with their claim to 2/3 of, effectively, of Guyana, where all the natural gas is, and the extension of the maritime boundaries. They do not support them, and they believe that the matter should go to the ICJ for it to be settled, contrary to what Venezuela is now saying, that they don't want to participate, against what they had said. So Trinidad did take a position, but I guess, you know what I mean? The light's coming on. The lights are flickering. I feel it coming on, eh? But what is more worrying with the Venezuelan situation, which I don't think I ever really discussed, because I really wasn't, I wanted to make sure that I had done enough research on that. You know, President Biden had said, okay, initially he said, okay, you could build your pipeline, which is 17 kilometers to the Hibiscus platform, and then transfer it from NGC pipelines to Atlantic and Polisas. He gave us a 2-year provisional license, but it couldn't be, you couldn't exchange, there couldn't be money.
Right.
So
until recently.
Then they had the new one, which is the 2025 version.
And just to confirm with you, that is where the Minister Young said if all green lights were in place, production could be done in less than 2 years.
So
2025.
That is not, how is he saying that?
I mean, this is what,
this is what
reported.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's reported of saying that.
Yes, and this is the thing about this minister. This is the thing about this minister who goes on CNN. I keep on telling me you didn't answer me about that yet. Your own prime minister talked about Manatee in 2019 and said it would take till 2024 at minimum, right? All things being equal, which they were not. You have heard all of the gas experts tell you it takes 4 to 8 years. You know, 2025. I mean, come on, minister. Why are you saying things that you know? All things being equal. Better really say all things being equal, because you know all things not equal. And that brings me to the 2025, when President Biden, who's under a lot of pressure, by the way, I think, from geopolitics.
I agree with you.
Because you realize Iraq now wants to join BRICS. They've already got 40, and Iran is one of them. And I don't know if you know, and I'm not commenting on it, I'm just going to just say, with the whole thing with Hamas, there's Hamas, and then the non-Hamas people who live in the Gaza Strip.
Yes.
Right? But the Hamas is connected to Hezbollah in Lebanon, which is connected to Iran, which has nuclear power. And there's a fear that Iran is backing the Hamas through Hezbollah. So, I mean, there's a real geopolitical concerns there, and then the BRICS is gaining in momentum. But the greater problem is that persons have expressed great distrust in Maduro keeping his word.
Yeah.
And I will show you why there is some truth in that. I mean, he is not an easy man. When Guaido, remember when the America and European Union said that he was really the president because there's a National Assembly, it's a unicameral, I think, and he won the majority votes because they finally got all the disparate arms of the opposition. Same problems like here, you know. Who believe in this way, we should go this way, we should go that way, I want to be president, you want to be president, and all the disagreements. But in the end, they got the National Assembly, so he got control. You know what Maduro did? He vetoed every piece of legislation that the National Assembly passed because he had that power. But he didn't go, he went further than that. He then started something called the Constituency National Assembly, which overrode the National Assembly, took away its legislative powers, gave the legislative powers to the Constituency National Assembly, which is, of my understanding, judges who are pro-Maduro. So when they tried to have Guaido, as I understand it, be a president, he just said, okay, I'm going to start the Constituency National Assembly, and I'm going to take away the powers that you had in National Assembly. I'm going to give it to the Constituency National Assembly, who are with my allegedly pro-Maduro judges, and I'm going to veto any legislation you could have passed in the past. And guess what, too? The number one opposition person who just won their primaries, Maria Machado, guess what? Maria Machado the primaries was not conducted by the equivalent of the EBC in Venezuela. They conducted it on their own. They put it in paper boxes, they went to churches, schools, and whatever, and they decided, is that going to be recognized? Venezuela, whether you like it or not, their election, even though there was a low turnout, it has not been said, they have not been able to say definitively that it was not a dictatorship election, because they were allowed to vote. Whether they did or not, that's a different story. But the point is that they could not, the EBC did not participate in her being chosen as the person to represent the opposition. But on top of that, she has a 15-year ban against participating in national elections. Why? Because they have charges saying that she has committed treason. Why? They even have a recording of her talking to somebody who was part of the anti-Maduro thing, talking on. She didn't say much, but she did say enough for them to say that she was conspiring with those anti-Maduro, pro-U.S. forces to overthrow a legitimately elected government. That amounts to treason, okay? And they've said that she has been attempting to overthrow a legitimately elected government. And that amounts to treason, and they have banned her for 15 years. So I just don't know if they think, if our Minister of Energy thinks he's playing on a level playing field with Minister Maduro, who has shown, Prime Minister Maduro, President Maduro, who has shown through the arbitral award, through the Petrocaribe, through all the things that I've said before, through carrying out military incursions along the border, through all of those factors, and people saying they don't trust him. On top of which, the last point I'll make, CITGO, which is their pride and joy, it's billions of dollars worth. It's located in the United States, you know, the refinery and the petroleum gas stations, right?
Okay, right.
But they're owned by Venezuela, and they've sent them off to auction. They put them into liquidation. Because they can't pay. It's up about 60 billion they say they owe. Listen, you go in Venezuela, you listening to what the minister said? Please, they're not due for elections till the end of 2024, December 2024. And this thing coming to end in 2025. Let me see if that is going to come to pass. Please, our best bet is go the CARICOM way. And Minister, I'm very sorry, you are not being, let us say you are being less than, well, I have to be careful, eh? Well, you're giving a very optimistic view that is not based on the data that is available to us.
Let's just say,
yes, that's
we don't think that even with all green lights are granted that we could get the gas in 2 years.
We know.
Right? You brought it up. That's assuming the best case scenario, which we probably not gonna get either.
Free and fair elections.
Right. We've already had enough bumps in the road to tell us that the rest of the road is not gonna be bump free.
It's going to be like La Brea, you know the old road in La Brea. I used to travel on that when I used to go to school.
Oh gosh, it was like we went to Mova last year or the year before. There was more hole than road in that trip.
So, Minister, please stop telling people things that you know going to do in 2 years. Come on, nobody believes you.
So just before
not even you.
All right. All I'll say is,
yeah, what will you say?
Big picture. We have these interim measures. It's day to day, and you pointed out some areas of deficiencies, and I think it's more than that. Education, crime.
Lots of other things.
There's so many things. Public utilities. Tech.
But they have us on a time.
They have us on a timer, right?
So we dealt with CARICOM.
So I'll just say I agree with Karen here because it's not just about an oil and gas partner in Guyana, but it's also a means to transition and become more diverse. That's what she said. Guyana doesn't have a diversification problem, but we have a diversification problem.
And then the Rupert Savannah with our cattle, you know. So they have meat, they have everything, you know.
Maybe we could become business partners and figure out a way.
Absolutely.
So, folks, we have to take a break for news. When we come back, we'll open up the phone lines.
Like to hear from you all.
Stay tuned.
Here is the WESN News on the Hour. I am Sira Ali. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Venezuelan asylum seekers' deportation attempt thwarted by ICNTT High Court. Anti-political leader criticizes Customs Act on camouflage items. Ministry of Health reaffirms dedication to safe medication access. And internationally, South Africa's rugby union team are the world's rugby champs. Now for the details. In a setback, former Venezuelan mayor attempting to evade deportation from Trinidad and Tobago, High Court Judge Frank Cepesat delivered a decisive blow to his last-minute legal efforts to secure asylum in Trinidad and Tobago. Following extensive legal arguments, Judge Cepesat issued an oral judgment rejecting the injunction application presented by lawyers representing Delvis Jose Reyes Garcia. The judge stated that Garcia's legal challenge lacked merit. Delvis Jose Reyes Garcia, aged 36, had been detained in Cocorite on September 22nd after reportedly entering Trinidad and Tobago unlawfully while fleeing threats in Venezuela due to his involvement with the opposition party. He had applied for asylum through the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and that application is still pending. Anti-political leader Gary Griffith has strongly criticized the Customs Act, which bans citizens from using any clothing or items with camouflage patterns. Describing it as dumb and ridiculous, Griffith's comments followed the recent arrest of a 32-year-old woman from Moruga who was detained over the weekend for wearing camouflage pants. Allegedly, the woman not only wore the prohibited clothing, but also resisted arrest, used offensive language, displayed disorderly behavior, and assaulted a police officer. Griffith contends that the law lacks practicality and serves no meaningful purpose. Amid growing concerns within the public discourse regarding the drug registration process, the Ministry of Health has reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to ensuring that the public can legally access safe medications. These concerns, initially raised by professional pharmacists, have prompted the ministry to address the issue. In an official statement, the ministry emphasized that it remains the competent authority responsible for regulating the safety, quality, and effectiveness of all medications available for public consumption. Internationally, South Africa's rugby union team are back home from France after winning the World Cup for a record 4th time. The players were met at Tambo Airport in Johannesburg by a huge, rapturous crowd on Tuesday. South Africa is the most successful team at the World Cup after winning 4 titles in 8 appearances. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I am Sira Ali. Thanks for watching.
Folks, welcome back to Talk About here on WSN Content Capital Show. Michael Smoke, Karen Shara, talking about the fact that, look, we're on natural gas life support. That's what it seems like, right? Before we get into natural gas withdrawal symptoms, right? Because, you know, our name is TNT, and we are an oil and gas addict. And our economy needs to be ready for those withdrawals when it comes. And here's the thing. We're going to open up the phone lines, folks. The numbers should be on your screen there. You can see them at the bottom. Call in, let us know what you think. You could also call in about crime or whatever else you want to speak of. But one thing that we did speak about yesterday, oh gosh, and as I mentioned, I think I forget it, well, with diversification, right? It seems as though the real issue is no one's willing to do it now because they don't want to spend or put the money to do it now. But there's no foreseeable, reasonable argument that it's going to be a better time down the line to try to do it.
Never a good time. And, you know, countries have had to do it. Ireland had to do it when things really, really, really got bad for them, and they eventually started their own international financial center, which caused a lot of the Irish professionals who had migrated to come back home. How I know that? Because we were setting up one, and the consultant we had was from PwC, and he had been very much involved in setting up the Irish version and was actually drafting our legislation when under Manning administration, I will have to say. We were very much gung-ho, and we had an MOU with one of the Lehman Brothers, that by the global financial crisis, you know what happened with that. But we were going ahead. So what I will say to that is this. I do think that, you know, in a way, we keep saying for about 20, 30 years, we're running out of gas. That is that is a fact. And, you know, and then when you say we're running out of gas, running out of oil, people not seeing that. So they want to say, are you just being hysterical? Are you trying to create hysteria? When what we are seeing is the opposite of what you're saying. So that's one thing. But the real thing to me, as having been in government, to start another stream of foreign exchange earnings, one, you have to have the will and commitment to it, and it's a lot of hard work. And it's really a lot of hard work. I don't know if there's any minister there that is up to that challenge or is going to be given that ability to exercise that challenge. That's what I think. I think that right now they were hoping that they could get themselves through this natural gas conundrum by continuously telling us all kinds of Nancy stories and hoping we'll believe it. And then we'll get the natural gas and everything will be all right with the world. But the reality is that it's not right with the world right now, and we have ourselves to blame. And when I say that, the government, because they've been there 9, 10 years, and they had opportunities to go into various areas of foreign exchange earnings that would have a real impact on our economy. And they just didn't do it because it was a lot of work, and it's a lot of work to say you're going to do cultural tourism. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to really do the TTIFC. It's not a walk in the park, and the other thing with the agro industry, that's a lot of work. And I don't think there was the will, there was the commitment, there was a lot of talk. And if you look at the implementation generally, which we, if you look at that generally, it shows there's no thing to implement anything.
You know what's
really
sad about it too as well?
What is sad about it?
Not only is the diversification economy kind of backwards, but I think it might seem obvious when I say it, but I don't think we give it its true consideration. One of the issues we have is the job opportunities on our Twin Island nation. And it's limited, there's certain industries where you could go far, and there are others which are just, well, you kind of have to do it on your own if you really want to get it done. If our economy was diversified, there's most likely our job market and our job opportunities won't just increase, but will also be more diversified. Certain people who get certain degrees when they go into the workplace, they're not going to be getting some degree in some field in science and they have to work in an office. They will have more opportunities for people to find what it is they love and do it at home as opposed to having to go abroad.
I think there's a disconnect and a mismatch in terms of it, and I think that's part of it because there's no question that we have a very educated population. Now the education system, we know there are a lot of things we can say wrong with it, but we do have a lot of tertiary institutions that have educated people in oil, gas, international trade. We really do, and at the highest level, we do have accountants, lawyers, doctors, people trained in the vocational training. We do have them. I think more than any other of the other Caribbean islands, to be honest. So the opportunities are there for us, but I just think that the implementation just was done there. One, because you're getting a call.
Okay, so we have a caller from Mova on the line. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'm calling from Mova. And green CARICOM could play a role because there was an article in Newsday, Thursday, July the 6th, page 14, entitled "Revive Discourse on Patriotic Bid for Point of Pay Oil Refinery." Where it was mentioned in the article the importance of CARICOM can give recommendation to Dr. Rowley in terms of the visiting patriotic bid where the refinery is concerned. Also mentioned in that article where the Foreign Minister of Minister of Foreign Affairs and CARICOM, Dr. Amy Brown, could raise that conversation about energy security where our oil refinery is concerned that had this type of development. It is something that's very important. Our refinery was one of the crown jewels of the Caribbean and also supported CARICOM, and I believe this is the time they could consider raising these questions for our refinery to open back. It has been 5 years, it has been shut down, and so on. We need to get our refinery operational.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, but I think what I probably will have to do is that we're going to have to have a more rationalized approach. In other words, I think the gas to liquid is a good possibility. I know they talk about hydrogen as a source of energy, but I understand to take the carbon dioxide out of water is both costly and very technically challenging. So I think the efforts that have been made, Nyquan was the latest one, and then we had the ultra diesel, sulfur, whatever, and then we had the one in Mr. Manning's time. I always forget the gentleman's name.
Is that a version of that as well?
Right, all of them are versions of the same thing. So what I think is that what we probably need to do is, as other persons have said, experts in energy sector have said, yes, there are parts of the Petrotrin refineries that are old and antiquated, and but a lot of refurbishment was done in recent years.
Right.
So maybe what we need to do is focus on that. So we focus on that, take a new approach to using the natural gas in a way that we haven't done before, because we have the knowledge, I think, and the technology, and we haven't done it yet, but we can do it, I think.
The only thing is I don't know, I mean, at the end of the day, the refinery is for oil to convert it to do anything else, or to buy a new facility.
But no, part of the refinery, there are 27 plants, as I understand it, on the refinery compound.
Okay.
And that gas to liquid and all the ultra diesel, they are on the refinery compound. They are not on another place, they are there. No. So that is where you want to focus on them. Maybe that's a possibility.
But I mean, this will be the first time that someone actually gets it operational, I guess you could say, to coin a phrase from Nikwan. They can't get operational even with all of the potentially preferential treatment they got to try to get themselves off the ground. With regards to the rest of the refinery, Caller, I understand what you're saying. It's a shame to see an asset like that wasted. I just don't know if it's feasible, and that's even if we just take the loan, the collateral off of the refinery. If the government just takes that debt onto themselves and takes it off the refinery.
They can't, you know, because when I say they can't, let me just put it this way. What saves us to a large extent is our HSF,
Yes.
Because the Heritage Stabilization Fund has about $5 billion US in it. What I think people may not understand is that foreign exchange reserves that we have, a lot of it is committed to paying debt, because there's a lot of bonds that we have issued to be able to finance our deficits, the expenditure, and be more than our revenue. So, I don't know to what extent, and also too, one of the reasons why, I don't know if you remember the Prime Minister saying invest in it just before, 3 weeks before election, I'm waiting to sign with patriotic, to hand over the refinery so they could start it up. And they'd given them a lot of, they'd done a lot of, what do you call it, when they give them a lot of opportunities to start up. But what they didn't tell you is that whoever they were borrowing money from or were going to help was saying this is Tobago Petroleum Limited, and they're not separating Heritage and Paria and the refinery. They're all together. And if one fails, the other two have to pay. And I don't think the kind of conditions for helping the refinery to start up were so onerous that the government, I think, bailed out at the last minute, and I believe they knew that for some time, from what I read. So we have to take a look back, look at our situation now, get us through the next 4 years for sure, and in those next 4 years, this is a great opportunity for us to partner with our CARICOM brothers and sisters, which was the intention behind CARICOM in the first place. Inter-regional trade. We can build up our own bloc. The EU did it, why can't we? You have to have faith in ourselves, You think Dubai did it just like that? You think Singapore did it just like that? You think Ireland did it like that? Leadership, vision, and commitment. We have a lot of things going for us.
Well, I mean, I think I said this with Keaton yesterday. Like, we could have good ideas, or maybe I said this with you on the phone. We could have all the good ideas that we want, but then, there are times when the good ideas are implemented poorly or not at all. And then it doesn't matter about the thinking about it. The leadership is not just with the strategizing, because, we have consultations and meetings and strategy meetings, and look, we just national security meeting, and that's nice. But where's the implementation? And I do wonder, this is where, on this show, we always come back to this. If you keep voting in the same people that have an implementation deficits, then
serious one,
what do you expect is going to happen?
I don't understand. Yeah, I just don't understand, because you see, it's not only an implementation deficit and having all these meetings, but even when they do implement and they tell you these things, the fact of the matter is they don't maintain. You could use the Marine Defense Force when he went before the
Coast Guard.
Right,
yeah.
And well, it's more than just the Coast Guard. It's the whole defense force,
the Coast Guard,
all of that. And he had to say that 50% of the equipment they had was non-operational. Now, when would we have found that out? So even if they get the equipment, which they're now getting some scanners, then we learned for 4 out of the 5 scanners were not working for how many months? So it's just, and then the poor DPP, I think they're after him. They are really after him. I am very sorry. I see the Minister of Public Administration saying that these people who are the landlords of the building are not involved in any organized crime. But I'm glad she knows that. So now she can tell us who is. Because if she knows who is not, then she knows who is. And the government knows it, do something about it now. So you can tell us who's not. So I don't know. They are after that man. They are after that DP. They are trying to hound him out. And every which way, it is very obvious.
Okay, we have a caller on the line from San Fernando. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Sean. Morning, Karen.
Morning.
Let me just first say, Karen, I'm disappointed that you say you think they're after the DPP. I am certain they're after the DPP.
Yes.
Certain.
Certain.
They're so ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Karen, I want to interject into the diversification issue and talk about this shipyard that they've been talking about in Le Bray. We have had a shipping industry that has gone all the way downhill. We have had the carry dock and the engraving dock that Clico had in Chaguaramas. There's also the slipway in Port of Spain that Maritime Preservation has. Those things have, apart from Maritime Preservation, the other two has been, well, the floating dock sank in carry dock there, and they said they have to buy a new one.
How about the ladders?
This had stemmed from what you call, remember the expansion of the Panama Canal?
Yeah.
And we had talked about improving our shipping industry. And well, we talked about the ports first, and Jamaica came and leapfrogged us and did their ports and became the hub from South Central America and the U.S. and the what you call the eastern seaboard of the U.S. Now Jamaica has done the same thing with the ship repair. Jamaica could have only done what you call wet docking, so they had no dry dock facilities in Jamaica of any magnitude to do big ships. Jamaica has installed recently. They have partnered with a German company, German ship repair company, and they have just installed a 20,000 ton floating dock in Jamaica.
Wow.
Again, Jamaica has leapfrogged us. Jamaica will now become the hub of ship repair in the Caribbean.
So I'm going to ask you a question and ask you why you think that's happening in Jamaica. All those things you're seeing.
And you're breaking up, Karen, already?
No, I was going to ask you, sorry to cut you, but I already wanted to ask you, so why do you think all of this advancement is happening in Jamaica?
Sorry, Karen, I know you hear me, but I'm not hearing you when you ask the question. Sorry about that.
Okay.
You can hear me, caller, San Fernando? Okay, all right. I think we might have lost.
But I think we got a lot of information from him. I can tell you that, and I really appreciate your intervention there. I think it was. I learned, but it's not only in the shipping industry. I think there was an article recently about the services industry, how they are way ahead of us in the industries for the small and medium businessmen, and I mean in a very real way. They're showing measurable results. So I guess I was trying to prompt the caller into saying there is the will and commitment and the implementation. And that is really, I think, is the main difference with them. And with regard to the DPP, he's not hearing.
No, the callers.
The callers.
Thank you. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, but I think he may be hearing us. And yes, I said me. I know they want to get rid of him. It is so obvious. It is disgraceful. It is disgraceful. You giving the public defenders for the legal aid, a whole set of defenders to defend people who can't afford legal aid or can't afford to defend themselves. That's commendable. But what about giving him prosecutors? What about him having prosecutors? I mean, it is just disgraceful. And I am positive. I am going to put my head out for that DPP, right? It is a concerted effort to hound him out of office because they cannot control him.
At a time when crime is at the level of problem that it is, right?
San Fernando back in.
The fact that the DPP's office is under so much pressure.
Yeah, San Fernando.
We have San Fernando on the line again. Good morning. Good morning, caller. Good morning. You on the air? Guys, I don't know if the caller's connected to us.
And I'm sure, I hope it's the same guy because he's a wealth of information.
Guys?
And so,
okay, I'm not sure what happened there because we now got the caller and we tried to put them through and we couldn't hear anything. Try calling back.
Yeah,
but,
because we do appreciate you. If it's the same person, you are a wealth of information.
Not that we don't appreciate our other callers.
No, I don't mean that. No. I thought what he was saying, I was learning actually. So maybe that's why I think so.
Same. And then it points out then now the purpose of CARICOM. Is there room for another dry dock, or should we try to find our own specialization? Because that's the benefit of coming together, right? You do this, I do that.
Well, I'll tell you what my problem is. I'm going to be frank with you. I'm going to be frank. I think they closed down a lot of the stores in down by, I don't want to call it D, but the little store down by Chagarambas. A lot of them I understand closed down, right? You know what my problem is? And this is how I feel. I think that if we go that route, unless we deal with the transshipment of cocaine and guns in this country, all you're going to be doing is providing another facility to facilitate what is there already. And that is my great concern, which is why we really need to get a handle on the crime, the root cause of crime. And I think I will be more open to that. Yeah, he's back with us.
Okay. Caller, you're on the air. Good morning. Welcome back.
He's back.
Guys?
You don't want to say from San Fernando or what?
I thought we...
Yes, Sean, you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah,
okay. Can hear you. Back to what I was talking about with Jamaica.
Yes.
Yes, Jamaica, as Karen said, Jamaica seems to have the government of Jamaica, when I say the government, including the Parliament of Jamaica, let me put it that way,
right,
seems to have the will to diversify, and even in agriculture, Jamaica has leapfrogged in agriculture in the last 7 or 8 years. I am amazed at what is happening there. And I wanted to go back, Karen, to the issue with this Labre shipyard project.
Yeah.
There seems to be something amiss for me inside of it. I know for a fact, this is what I know, that there was in the Kamala Prasad Bisesa time of government under Basan Bharat. There seems to be an issue with a Chinese company that had made an investment in that Libre project, and that seems to be where the problem is. Apparently, and I'm saying apparently,
that's a good word.
This Chinese company had put in $300 million or something of the sort, and this is what is causing a delay in this project. And I would like them to just come clean and say what really is the issue, because you can't be waiting for the EMA for the last 5 or 6 years to give you and to do a CEC for you, and you can't see where the process is with the CEC. Something is amiss there, and I think they're pulling wool over our eyes and just dragging us along with that project.
I 100% agree, and I think that's also would be true with the manatee thing, that they can't get the CC. You see, when something not making sense and they define logic, it's not a define logic. And just from my little experience, I know there are things going on behind the scenes which we will not know about, and they are connecting dots which we are limited in our ability to connect the dots. But when something not making sense, it's not making sense. And I think just this thing with Jamaica, oh, we have a caller.
No. Thanks, caller. We more or less have to wrap up now because we're
I was about to say that one of the things that Jamaica did was when, a few years back, the then government Simpson, remember Portia Simpson?
Yes.
Right, she was there, and then the opposition leader at that time, and then the unions, then the business community, everybody came together and said enough is enough, and actually invited the IMF under certain conditionalities to help them, to guide them in their recovery of the economy. So they were able to, for example, bring a business to start up in 3 days. So I think they got a lot of that encouragement, a lot of support from the IMF in a way that the IMF had not previously approached these countries such as Jamaica, and they may have played a part in that. But definitely there's a problem here about implementation, and it continues to be a problem, and that is a reality. There's not the will, and there's some reason. When something does not make sense, it does not make sense.
Yeah. 300 million US arbitration talks with a Chinese contractor.
Oh, I got it.
For the aluminum smelter plant, and because of that, the government is trying not to repeat the same situation. But again, I'm not entirely sure exactly what it is that they're trying to safeguard or prevent or what have you. Just that the Prime Minister pointed to that previous situation and why this is
and
still
you know what's the
taking
problem? There's a credibility gap. This is the truth. There's a credibility gap and a confidence gap with what this government says to the people. So when they tell you something, you don't take a teaspoon of salt when they tell you it, you know. Take a tablespoon of salt. I'm sorry to say that, but that is reality.
Well, I'll say this. We had easy times, we had wealthy times. There's a saying, and I'm paraphrasing the saying to kind of be in better context. You know, easy times gets weak people. Hard times get strong people. And the rest of the Caribbean didn't have it as nice as us. So look at where Jamaica is, look at where Barbados is. And I'm telling you, the work ethic they got from a hard industry like tourism, where you have to serve people right through, top down, right? Things like that. You know, and not just having hotels, but the mentality of the government and the nation being on board with these kinds of things. Oil and gas, we just let them do the oil and gas for us. You know, the government doing it and the oil and gas companies doing it, we just reaping and experiencing the benefits of it. We didn't have to work hard for that. So that's where we're at now.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Necessity. Well, the thing is, if we wait, folks, until it's time, when it's necessary, it'll be real hard times. Real hard. Karen, thanks once again.
Thank you for having me again, and looking really sharp.
Okay, all right. Thanks for calling in. Stop talking about me. Gosh, this is talking point, not showing admiration.
You are the talking point for me today.
Folks.
And it's San Fernando caller. I'm not to say everybody, we love you all to call in, but we no. I mean, especially today, I really learned a lot.
Folks, as my co-host says, we can make it a good day if we try, and we really do have to put our efforts into it. That's where it all comes down to. The buck stops at us. We are the bosses of our own nation. But with that said, we will see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
WESN.
I am Rondell Donowa, and you are watching WESN, the content capital.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk? Or
it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychology